For joining us. We begin tonight with Musk and Big Balls.
Big balls.
Big balls.
Big Balls, who work for Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, Doge.
In the one case of the Big Balls kid, a literal teenager.
Big Balls online, Big Balls here that Katie's talking about.
A 19-year-old that goes by the username Big Balls.
So that would be one way that we could refer to him.
Young computer whizzes, the aforementioned Big Balls.
Because who among us doesn't feel better about big balls in charge of American air traffic control?
Ooh, you gotta laugh at this point. You really just have to laugh at these people. If there's anything that just showed you that everything we've seen at this point is a complete clown show, that shows it to you. I mean, there's nothing else to define it. I don't know, 100, 200 years from now in history, someone's going to find this little capsule. And this capsule is going to be a video. And in this video, it's going to be talking about 2025 and it being the year of big balls. Oh, if I wasn't here to experience it, nobody would believe me. If you weren't here to experience it and see what's going on, nobody would believe you. They would say you're making it up, Barry. You're making it up, Jill, Fred. There's no way that was a topic across news sites today. But it gets better. It gets even much better than just that. So Elon Musk, I want to talk about an entertaining timeline. We are on the most entertaining timeline. And as you're going through, this is what was trending today. Scott, Kanye, look at Big Balls. Big Balls was the #1 trend mathematically on X today. You really can't make this up. You can't. So what happened with this is that Elon put out a poll, okay, just to bring you guys up to speed. One of the guys on his team has a screen name, and his screen name, because you haven't been following the news today, his screen name, as some kids would have, his screen name was Big Balls. And the media thought that was just an amazing gotcha, showing you how they should not have these kind of people, doing things. Clutching pearls, as if, you remember what we've seen in the White House? You remember what we've seen in Congress? It's not talking about screen names. We saw what you people actually do in the White House. Some people have screen names from when they were in high school at this point. They just never changed it. It's a screen name. But in any event, Elon put up a poll. The kid resigned or got fired, however, because of something he wrote in his past. And it ticked some people off. And Elon put up a poll and said, should we bring Big Balls back? And overwhelmingly, 400,000 people voted. And those 400,000 people voted and 80% said bring him back. Well, then later on, someone else got made their feelings known. Let me see if I can find this right quick, because I did save it so I would have it here. Because, hold on, I'm getting there. It was this guy. This guy, J.D. Vance, dropped the quote of the year today. Racist trolls on the internet, while offensive, don't threaten my kids. You know what does threaten my kids? A culture that denies grace to people who have made mistakes. A culture that encourages congressmen to act like whiny children. Couldn't have said it better myself, J.D. I've seen way too many people canceled because of something they said, 10, 12 years ago. And remember, well, you may not remember, I remember one guy got canceled because he was singing on screen, on a video, he was singing the lyrics to one of his favorite rap songs. You know those rap songs that say the word every other sentence? If you can call it a sentence. Lyric, whatever you want to call it. And they got a film of the guy saying, boom. And they canceled him because he was singing the lyric. That was at the height of cancel culture. We are no longer there. We are now going to be a truly tolerant and truly forgiving society. Not go back and see what you could dig up on somebody from 15 or 20 years ago, because many of us aren't the same people we were 15 or 20 years ago. But today at the press conference, some of you guys may have seen it, Peter Doocy of all people tried to, hey, President Trump, what do you think about so-called big balls?
Cutting effort. One of the Doge engineers was fired for some inappropriate posts. The vice president says, bring him back. What do you say?
Well, I don't know about the particular thing, but if the vice president said that, did you say that? I'm with the vice president. Thank you, Peter.
Rejoice, be happy. That's what they're reduced to. That is now what these people have been reduced to. I've said it so many times over the last couple days. Don't give these people any quarter. Don't give them any harbor. Take no prisoners. Let them expect no mercy. And at this point, you're seeing that happen in real time. You're seeing finally people on the right growing some, how can I say this any better than say it, big balls. None other than the President of the United States. So, that was the light part of what you're going to see tonight. The actual part that I want to dig into is, I'm going to tell you, it is worse than you ever imagined. What we've seen this week, as today is Friday, and if you're watching this on replay, it's Friday night. And what you're seeing right now is the tip, as I said, the tip of the iceberg. As we move from USAID and we move to the Department of Defense and the Department of Education, you are going to see, I'm prepping you now, you are going to see things that are going to curl your hair. Remember, forget USAID for the time being, but understand our Department of Defense has never passed an audit. The biggest budget in the United States, I believe it's $850 billion to $1 trillion a year. The biggest budget in the country that we have has never passed an audit. Ever. And so now President Trump has told Doge to go ahead and start looking at the Department of Defense and the Department of Education. Check out this.
There's a lot of misinformation out there. First of all, when you say the Doge team, these are Treasury employees. It is 2 Treasury employees, one of whom I personally interviewed in his final round. There is no tinkering with the system. They are on read-only. They are looking. They can make no changes. It is an operational program to suggest improvement. So we make 1.3 billion payments a year. And this is 2 employees who are working with a group of long-standing employees.
Thank you all for being here.
All right, so understand that is Scott Bessent. I'm not sure how you say his name. He is the new Treasury Secretary under Donald Trump. And he just cut their narrative off at the knees. Sorry. I know what you think. You think Elon Musk and these kids are running amok. Nope. All they're doing is data mining. All they're doing is looking for discrepancies. Whatever their algorithm that they have now dug up so much stuff. So much stuff as he don't even really need them to focus on USAID anymore, because hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of us are digging and finding it out too. They merely cleared the path so we could begin looking. I showed you how to do that a couple days ago. And the more and more and more that we find, the scarier it becomes. It's insane what's in here. And this is a small budget, if you want to call it a budget, compared to the Department of Education and the Department of Defense. Small. Very, very small. Let me show you something. A gentleman called Brian Cates. I have followed him for quite some time. He wrote this. I told you, and the Department of Department of Education and the Department of Defense have budgets that dwarf USAID by a lot, a whole lot. Remember, neither of these agencies have passed recent audits. Never passed an audit. Donald Rumsfeld was forced to come out and admit on September 10th, 2001, one day before September 11th, 2001, he had to admit that the Pentagon had lost $2 trillion. You've heard that story. It's not folklore. It's actually happened. The Pentagon lost. Not lost in terms of too many expenses. Lost in terms of we have no idea where it went. $2 trillion. No, I'm sorry. I have no idea where it went. Thankfully for the thieves, September 11th was allowed to happen the very next day, and wouldn't you just know it, one of those planes hit the Pentagon right smack dab where the accounting office was, and that held all the evidence for the missing $2 trillion, and it was all destroyed. But at least 9/11 allowed them to kick off another 20 years of forever wars and steal another couple trillion. You have to look on the bright side. Okay, on a serious note, this is going to be very, very bad. Brace yourselves mentally now, otherwise you may poop yourself when Musk and his team reveal just how much they've stolen. I'm telling you, it is going to be horrific. I don't think there's any scale people can even understand at this point how much of your money they have stolen. Over years. I mean, we're going back, that's 2001. That's 24 years ago. You begin doing the math as you're seeing this stuff. This has been going on for decades. You have been a slave, I have been a slave to this machine that just takes your money and has no regard for it. Just does whatever you want it, they wanted it to. No regard whatsoever. I had posted this earlier because you may remember I said this, and Elon puts a bullseye on what this guy says. It turns out you don't need to tax citizens that much if the government isn't run by fraud. That statement, and when I said it this morning, that's the heart of this. We're going to find fraud. We're going to find corruption. But we're going to find out that there's got to be a point where we look at this and go, we don't need nearly much of this income tax. This is all just for show. Why are we taxing American people to the point of this when you can't even locate, $2 trillion? If you haven't been paying attention, if you weren't digging in and you weren't a political junkie like some of us, the next couple of months is going to completely make your head go boom, boom. And then it's up to you to tell everybody else, because the media, well, they're focused on big balls. Nobody wants to talk about what's going on right now. They just can't. They're not allowed to, or the amount of cognitive dissonance that's going through these people's minds. Maybe they're on the take as well. Who knows? There's a lot of people up in the D.C. Beltway area, New York studios, who are probably bringing Depends to work from now on. Because on an hourly basis, they're probably putting squirty stripes in their underwears. This is scary stuff. This is the kind of stuff that people, if you haven't cut your deal, and probably Trump doesn't want any deal, you might want to start talking to somebody. And I'm not talking about a counselor. You might want to start figuring out where the exit is and which chair you want as the music begins to slow down. You know how they're always saying millionaires and billionaires? Isn't it funny that the people who are spearheading the revelations that we're finding, the exposure of this deep state government, are indeed the very billionaires that they have been trying to stain and do anything they can do to denigrate? Case in point, Sean McGuire, another hedge fund billionaire. Dear Americans, we have all been cheated and manipulated for years. Your own tax dollars were used to manipulate you. We can't let this happen again. And this is the most important part. Don't let up. You're winning. Each you and me, we are winning. We have to keep it up. This is where your stamina, this is where your winning energy has to come in. You have to keep pushing. We are going to shut these people down on every front, not giving them any place to run to, not giving them any quarter whatsoever. You've got to keep up, keep it up, keep it up. Share articles, talk to people you don't know, and keep it going. The reason I keep saying this because it's so important to defeat the Mockingbird media. We will get into that. But understand, this is how you slay the dragon. We've got to be talking like speakeasies in 1929. We have to be the foot soldiers to beat this behemoth that's in front of us called the deep state, because they control all of the public messaging except for what you're seeing on X and perhaps a little bit on Facebook at this point. So it's incumbent upon us, if we want to end this, you're the resistance. But now you're more than the resistance. You are the, I don't know, incendiary device to take this behemoth down. Give them, you want to see an idea of what not giving an inch is? This is not giving an inch. All right, so Maxwell Alejandro Frost was one of the guys who was screaming at the Department of Education this morning. He was with the whole group with Maxine Waters, and he puts out, they're blocking members of Congress from entering the Department of Education. Elon is allowed in and not the people. Illegal. And watch what Elon says right here, because I was like, oh, man. No such department exists in the federal government. You were trying to get into a building that you thought was the Department of Education. That department no longer exists. So wherever you thought you were trying to get into, you didn't know it no longer housed the Department of Education. You didn't get the memo. Nobody told you you were knocking on the door of something else. See, this is a brilliant strategy, and we're starting to see this take hold. We are starting to see this is what it is. I said it earlier. When they went to court and said that nobody can stop the USAID flow of money, and they went and I read the decision, and the decision said President Trump is blah blah blah, and until further notice, all payments from USAID have to continue, except for one fact: there's no such thing as AID. USAID gone. It's been evaporated. Hey, I see your order, but there's no such department. It's gone. And so as Trump is vaporizing these things, Department of Education, gone. USAID, gone. It's leaving these people nowhere to go. And on top of all that, they're slicing and dicing the DEI stuff as well.
Here today, it's a very exciting time. And as we usher in this golden age of America. But before we begin, I want to share some news with you all. Today, I am directing the HUD staff to halt any pending or future enforcement actions related to HUD's 2016 Equal Access Rule, which in essence tied housing programs, shelters, and other facilities funded by HUD to, quote, gender identity. And I want to be clear here at this agency.
In case you don't know, this is Scott Turner, the new Secretary of HUD, who was confirmed. Man, these days all run into each other. A couple days ago, but he's the new Secretary of HUD.
We are carrying out the mission laid out by President Trump on January 20th, when he signed an executive order to restore biological truth to the federal government. This means recognizing there are only two sexes, male and female. It's time to get rid of all the far left gender ideology and get government out of the way of what the Lord established from the beginning when he created man in his own image, male and female. Moreover, this is just the first of many examples of how starting today, day one, we're going to back to work for the American people and being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. There is more to come, but as I've said before, we're going to take inventory of all of HUD's programs and ensure every dollar that goes out of the door is advancing HUD's mission, which is to provide quality, affordable homes for communities across this great country, urban, rural, and tribal. And to promote economic investment to build stronger communities and brighter futures for all.
If you look at
So what you hear him saying is it's no longer going to be about the poor peoples. Everything that he's going to be doing, whether it's FHA, community housing, everything is going to be based upon Americans, not DEI, not because you want to be a certain affection or affliction. And notice what he said. Many, many more things are coming, not just in HUD, throughout government. Laura Loomer posted this a little while ago, courtesy of SV. Scoop. White House source tells me President Trump will be firing even more D.C. bureaucrats throughout the weekend. It's getting spicy at the White House this evening with a Friday night fire special. Knowing he's not even there. He's down here in Palm Beach at Mar-a-Lago. President Trump has dismissed the Kennedy Center, the archivists, the visitor boards of Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. Biden lost his security clearance, and I've been told by the White House sources there is way more firings and announcements coming. Oh, she kind of let something out of the bag. Two things she let out of the bag. First, the Kennedy Center. So let me make sure I can do this correctly. Here. At my direction, we are making the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. great again. I have decided to immediately terminate multiple individuals from the Board of Trustees, including the chairman, who do not share our vision for a golden age in arts and culture. You know what kind of arts and culture they like. So this is a pretty easy one. We will soon announce a new board with an amazing chairman, me. Donald Trump has named himself chairman of the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Just last year, the Kennedy Center featured drag shows specifically targeting our youth. This will stop. The Kennedy Center is an American jewel and must reflect the brightest stars on its stage from all across our nation. For the Kennedy Center, the best is yet to come. Man's kicking butt and taking names. Not playing with these people. And this was like one of the best. Well, the next thing I'm going to show you is the most epic troll I've ever seen. But this is maybe one of the second ones. You're fired, and I'm taking your place. Oh, my goodness. Hit the bricks. Don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you. I am the boss here now. And he sure is. And he's letting everybody know it. But this one here, this is the best one. I can't imagine what happened around Washington, D.C. when they saw this. There's no need for Joe Biden to continue receiving access to classified information. Therefore, we are immediately revoking Joe Biden's security clearances and stopping his daily intelligence briefings. He set this precedent in 2021 when he instructed the intelligence community to stop the 45th President of the United States, me, from accessing details on national security, a courtesy provided to former presidents. The Hur report, and if you remember the special counsel that looked into Joe Biden, that came out and said, we can't prosecute him because his stuff is scrambled. The Hur report revealed that Biden suffers from, quote, poor memory and even in his, quote, prime, could not be trusted with sensitive information. I will always protect our national security. Joe, you're fired. Make America great again. Wow. You do know people just what that's going to do. I mean, that's one of those things that it's just going to irk them to no end, because we know, I shouldn't say that, so I don't want these guys to get ticked off. We pretty much know that Joe Biden wasn't running anything. And because Biden wasn't running anything, someone else was getting those confidential security briefings. Someone else had the security clearance. They were doing whatever. Who knows? Obama didn't need it because he was already a president. So who was getting this security briefing in the White House that was supposed to be for the President of the United States? Not anymore. They're not peeking into anything. It's been secured, locked up. So you remember when they raided Mar-a-Lago and they came in looking for documents and everything? Well, there was somebody up in Washington, and it's called the National Archives, and they're like, hey, there's stuff missing. And we think he took it. And so because of that predicate, they were able to begin looking into Trump and raiding Mar-a-Lago with FBI agents drawn and going through Melania's underwear drawer. Well, Trump didn't forget that. Didn't forget who did that. President Donald Trump has fired Colleen Joy Shogan, former head of the National Archives and Records Administration. This insufferable witch was one of the ones involved in getting the FBI to go down and do the raid in Mar-a-Lago, and she is now jobless. If this doesn't seem like an FAFO scenario, that Trump is basically taking the persona of Michael Corleone, and he's settling all family business just a little bit at a time. These people don't have a clue what's coming. It's insane. It's insane that they thought they might get away with this and had no idea what was coming. Me, I'm kind of happy about it. I'm glad that they are in this position without knowing what's coming next. And we know some other stuff is coming. So let's continue with this video.
For all. If you look at what has just taken place with respect to some of the investments that have been made on another agency that people have been talking about for years, but nobody did anything about it, it's absolutely obscene, dangerous, bad, very costly. I mean, virtually every investment made is a con job. There's nothing of value to anybody unless there's a kickback scheme going on, which is possible. And we're going to be doing more and more of that. We're going to be looking at Department of Education. We're going to be looking at even our military. We're going to be looking at tremendous amounts of money, Peter, being spent on things that bear no relationship to anything and have no value. We're talking about trillions of dollars. It will be, in the end, trillions of dollars being absolutely wasted, and perhaps illegally. I would say certainly in many cases illegally, but perhaps illegally overall. We're going to get...
He mentioned it twice in that little cut. Twice in that little cut, he talked about either kickbacks or illegalities happening around this money. So I would venture to say, since he's been working hand in hand with Elon, he already knows. Pam Bondi just got sworn in. It's going to take a bit for her to get up to speed and get her team together, but they've already found something. There's too much not to have found something. And now as they, because it sounds like they're moving on from USAID, because there's probably what you've seen in public and what you've dug up yourself, it probably is like, hey, we got all this, we know who did it, and now let's move on to this one. And he's so confident. How could he be so confident that there's so much corruption in these departments? Because more than likely, they have, as I've said, they've been working on this for quite some time. And now it's just serving it up. They've been back there prepping in the kitchen, and now they're getting to cook. And as he's cooking, he's finding this stuff out. And now you're finding it out. And there is going to be no way that they can come out from under it. One of the agencies that Elizabeth Warren had been in charge of is the CFPB. Well, today, CFPB is on pause. Doge team steps in to review the agency. It's been a wild week at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau after Trump replaced CFPB Director Rohit Chopra with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The agency has effectively been put on pause, i.e., read behind that. you're seeing pretty much they already know. They already found out. Elizabeth Warren, get a lawyer. Get a lawyer. All CFPB activities, including enforcement, litigation, rulemaking, and guidance, have been frozen. Even rules already finalized are now on hold, with a chance Congress may reverse previous regulations like those on overdraft fees or medical debt reporting. Now the Doge team is embedded in CFPB with read-only access to HR, procurement, and finance data. The goal to assess operations and push for greater efficiency and transparency in the agency's spending and processes. Created after the 2008 financial crisis, the CFPB has faced criticism for overreach. Could Doge bring the accountability it needs? And this is from the paid-off agency Politico. That's a mouthful, but let me just summarize it really and bring it down for you. Elizabeth Warren, get a lawyer. Who knows what these people have done? Who knows who they've done shakedowns with? You're probably corporate heads, CEOs, CFOs are talking, hey, this is what they did. This is how they threatened us. Here's why we had to do things a certain way. There is too much going on. Too much going on right now for these people to even come up for air. And I told you also that I firmly believe that some stuff that Trump does is merely to catch them by surprise and make them wonder what they can be doing, because there's too many things to fight. One of those things is this. Now, when I show you this, you know when they hear this in mass, you see them already going crazy. When they hear that this might even be a possibility, that it could be, that it's even being talked about, is going to cause earthquakes of magnificent magnitudes. You won't be able to measure this on a seismometer. It's going to go off the charts. Barry, what the hell are you talking about? Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas have indicated they wish to review the Obergefell versus Hodges case that came before the SCOTUS back in 2015 that legalized gay marriage. So if Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, who were on the court back in 2015, but back then it was a different court. It was 5-4, 5 liberal, 4 conservatives. Scalia, who's no longer with us, John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, and Alito all voted no. Well, Roberts, Alito, and Clarence Thomas are still here with 3 more people. Who knows what Amy Coney Barrett is, but all they've got to do is get Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. How easy will it be to turn it around? It won't be easy at all. They will fight like this is a death. This would be the fight to the death. Oh my gosh. See, it doesn't have to do it. The mere fact, and this didn't come from Trump. It got nothing to do with it. Alito and Clarence Thomas have voiced an opinion. When this filters out into that community, and they find out that there's even a sliver of a chance that it may be overturned, what do you think's going to happen? I'm serious. How do you think these nuts are going to react to that? You think immigration's a fight? You think trying to get into the Department of Education is a fight? Oh, you ain't seen nothing, brother. I don't think there's enough popcorn on the shelves in stores for what is going to happen when this makes mainstream news. This is the one that they will forget all about Doge. Doge, what? I don't care about Doge. Screw Elon. This will suck all the air out of the room. They will fight to the death over this, and they won't even see what Elon's doing. Elon and Doge and Trump, they don't care. That's the Holy Grail. If the Oberfell-Hodges ruling is overturned, or even spoken of being overturned, it is of the likes of a political Hiroshima. That's how bad that will be. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong once people find out that might be in crosshairs. That was 2015. What's her name? Ruth Ginsburg was still here. You know, Kennedy was still on it. And then, of course, Kagan. It's a different Supreme Court. And now they're going to, just like they did with Roe v. Wade, now they may review this. I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. Yeah, heads are exploding for sure. Buy stock in popcorn. Oh my goodness, that would be distract and mislead your enemy. Yeah, make them go over here and defend this front. Make the media now. Media's like, okay, what do we cover? We only got so many Oh, we don't know where to go. There's too much. Popcorn. Popcorn with butter and a big Coke, please. Oh my goodness, could you even imagine? Whoever came up with this strategy, and you know, it's funny, you're right, Barry, we'll take a Donkey Kong look like checkers. Oh, Barry, it's too much winning. I can't take anymore. See, this isn't a win. I want you to know, because people will say, oh, it'll never happen. It doesn't have to happen. Understand, this isn't something that has to happen. This is only something that has to be talked about. The possibility of it happening will cause tidal waves across so many different states and so many different groups and neighborhoods. I live in South Florida. There's an entire city, Wilton Manors, here in South Florida. Beautiful place. Love the place. Owned property there. Love it. Absolutely love it. South Beach. Love it. Don't love it. Not what it's turned into. But there are so many little, neighborhoods. Nice people. Living their lives. Don't bother anybody. You want to see this place erupt? Start talking about that. And then you're going to see... And it may not even happen. I love that Trump didn't touch it. I love that Trump just... I got nothing to do with this. So you can't attach it to him. You can't attach it to J.D. Vance. Can't do anything. So at this point, it's merely two Supreme Court justices who are talking. You can bet in one of the upcoming press conferences, somebody will say, what do you think about, the Supreme Court justice overturning Oberfell, whatever the thing is? And Trump's answer will be, didn't come from me. Hey, it's settled law. That's the answer. It is settled law. Until it's not. Because somebody somewhere, now they know they're talking, because they can't initiate this on their own. They would have to have a case brought before them challenging it. And there's going to be somebody in some small town somewhere who's going to bring this case, and it's going to make its way from local courts to the district to state. And the fact that it'll start moving is going to cause these people just, I can't even imagine. I shudder to think, and it's all in my estimation. It's merely a deflection, a distraction to keep these people on their heels, not knowing what's coming.
Elon, and he's great at this, he's going to be our cost cutter. I think he can save trillions, right? He wants to do it so badly. I don't think I can get him full time because he's a little bit busy sending rockets up and all the things he does, but he's so much into that. He said the waste in this country is crazy, and we're going to get Elon Musk to be our cost cutter. He's going to do it for zero. He doesn't want anything, but he wants to see this country be great, and he'll do it. And having his endorsement is a great endorsement. All
right, just before I talk about that, somebody had put in the comments, Is that an actual article? Is it true? Is it accurate? Has it been verified? And my answer to you is it doesn't matter. If it's true, all hell's going to break loose. But the fact that now people are spreading that and putting it out there, that's what you have to look at. It's now out in the public domain. Whether or not Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito actually said it doesn't really matter. But the fact that now it's out there, it wasn't community noted, so it could be correct. You can, if you want to go find it yourself and try to community note it and see if they can verify it. But the fact is, it's going to be talked about. You know, and boom, there it goes. Is it misinformation? I don't know, but it's out there now. And it'll make its way to the press conference. Once it makes its way to the press conference and somebody asks Trump, because the Supreme Court justices live behind a wall of secrecy. So nobody really knows what they say. So they're going to have to ask Trump or somebody and say, hey, are you looking to? No, I'm not looking to do anything. It's settled law. But it's going to cause them to deflect and look over here. And that's all it's going to take. So the second part, that's all I'm going to say about that. Then this part here, this is the kryptonite for everything that they've been saying in regards. Nobody voted for Elon Musk. Well, I went and dug that up, and he spoke about it a lot. So yes, we did vote for Elon Musk because at many campaign stops and many rallies, Trump said, I want this guy to come in and start slicing and dicing all of these agencies. That was part of his campaign. That was his promise. We're going to find, corruption wherever it may lay, and we're going to come after it. And Elon is going to do it for me. We vote for it. We'll take it. So don't let anyone tell you that you or I didn't vote for that. Everything that's happening, you most assuredly and I voted for.
If you want to talk about those items, defend them.
Yes. Sending the money to any of those programs is an investment in the future in winning the hearts and minds. The corrupt money that is stolen along the way.
So wait. Let me set this up for you. Glenn Beck did something amazing. Glenn Beck did an open mic and had people call in and said, hey, if you think that this money from USAID is viable and you're a liberal or a Democrat, call me. Let's talk about it and be prepared to defend your position. Asking a liberal to coherently defend their position never works. Why is that? Because they can't. Most of the time, they have no idea what they're even talking about. They're blibbering idiots. They have no clue what they're talking about. And I've done it. It's fine. You can actually tie a liberal up with 2 or 3 questions, and they can't go any further. And this is what Glenn Beck does to this guy.
Wait. Tell me what you know about Sri Lankan journalists and their use of binary gender language. Can you tell me about that and what this program is actually trying to accomplish?
No, I cannot.
Okay. So you're just giving it a pass, and I want to know why. Why are you just giving it a pass?
The reason I'm giving it a pass is because I believe it to be that type of aid is an investment in the future of life on this planet. Okay, the corrupt part, the people that steal the money along the way, real problem.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, you keep saying that you believe in investing in life on the planet. I just want you to know, scientifically, if you start to deny there's a difference between men and women, and you are promoting sex with women and men, you are going to hurt the future of mankind because you won't have babies.
Wow. Well, that's insightful. That is enlightening, Glenn. I was not aware of that.
I know you're a farmer. You're a farmer. I would think that you would know that. When you buy a bull, if your bull was just having sex with another bull, would you sell that bull? Or would you say, for diversity's sake, I want to keep feeding that bull?
do yourself a favor over the next couple of days. Again, go download Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Because what Glenn is doing right here, he's taking rule number 4 and completely using it against this guy. Rule number 4, if I quote it correctly or if I remember, is the rule where you said you use someone's inherent beliefs to destroy them. If you're never going to be, just an example, if you always believe to turn the other cheek, then I know I can keep punching you in the face. If I know you are a vegetarian and you hate meat, I can keep trying to, to push meat on you, knowing you could never eat it because it goes against your belief. Well, Glenn just took this guy's core belief here, or it's become a core belief, and now the guy is right now in a corner, and he's looking out and going, you got me here. You got me.
I would say for diversity's sake, I'd keep feeding that bull and I'd put other cows in with the bull because my bulls have sex with bulls and my bulls have sex with cows. That's what I witnessed this morning.
What I'm asking is if one of your bulls was like, I'm only going to have sex, and Brian, I want you to respect the fact that I'm only having sex with bulls. You could put me around women and cows, but I'm not interested in them. Why are you being so hateful? Why would you sell me? Why won't you just keep me alive? Yeah, why would you?
Why wouldn't I?
Why would you? Yeah, why wouldn't you? Why would you, Brian? Why would you?
I do have.
You're telling me, as a businessman, we're not talking about human beings here. We're talking about business.
Right.
You, as a businessman, you'd make that decision.
No, not as a businessman. I'm not a businessman.
Oh.
I'm a farmer.
You're a farmer.
Food. Right.
Yes, I know. But you, to produce food, you have to make money.
No,
and I know in my... Oh, you don't?
No, think about this for a minute, Glenn. You don't have to make all sorts of money beyond your expenses.
These people are absolute stoner nuts. Again, you have this kind of conversation with somebody and you've tied him into pretzel and there's no logic. It makes absolutely no sense. And Glenn knows it. He's done it enough. I've done it enough. All you've got to do is ask a couple questions and you can literally see people get anguished because they're stuck. It's like watching, playing a game of Jenga. I'm just going to pull that piece right there, and you're not going to be able to go. You have no move. It's like the epic game of DEI Twister. I don't know what to do. You just caught me in my own ideology where I can't move. And then I'm trying to say some stupid stuff that's making me look even stupider. Well, as a businessman, I'm not a businessman, I'm a farmer. Well, don't you got to buy the grain and stuff to feed? Yeah, but you don't need to have that much. But you still have to buy it, right? You don't have to...
Making money, right?
Right, but if I'm keeping bulls that are not having sex and producing more cattle, then I'm losing money. And I know how razor thin... it is. As a rancher, I'll have a good year and I'll have 3 bad years in a row. And if I didn't have another job, I wouldn't be able to keep my ranch. So I'm making sure I'm as efficient. Oh, is it another ballgame?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about food and food prices and the agricultural subsidies, if you want to talk about keeping a bull,
I just want you to know. Go ahead.
The reason that food is being produced is to feed people. That's the reason.
Yes.
Think it through.
And the reason, I know, and that is great. And if we lived in a communist country, the country would support you, and there would be no death, and everybody would be eating.
And socialism,
what you
forget it.
What you have to do.
That's what they always say. Win. That's the win. That is the win. Forget it. You win the DEI Twister Award. I can't find my left arm. I forget it. That's it. That's when it ends. Right now, and now Glenn at this point is ready to go in and harpoon this dude, because now you're just floating on the surface. I'm just going to harpoon you. You just threw up the white flag. Just forget it. That's what happens to these people. I found this video and I was like, oh my God, that's the most perfect example I've ever heard recorded in regards to dealing with the libnut. When they get to a point, number one, he was deflecting like hell. He starts talking about food for the bull, and ask you a question. How are you going to keep a ranch if you got no calves? If your bulls are just bumping big balls with another bull, they're not having little baby cows. So your business ends, which essentially is what many people feel has been why they've been trying to, push this ideology. You see, he just exhibited something that many people have been talking about. Why is all this transformer stuff and what? Because eventually, if they had more and more of these people, you would be seeing nothing procreating. And it would decline, and it would decline, and would decline. And then the other people could have whatever they wanted, and you've got these mutants running around. They'll probably hit me with that. And he just said it. He's willing to do that to save his face, to save his ideology. You just heard him. And then he got to a point where, whatever, I'm done. Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. If you ask me to respond to a question, and the question makes sense, and it's formulated correctly, then I should be able to discuss what I agree or disagree because it's founded in something that makes actual sense. Why are you using this light? Blah, 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 blah. Have you thought about this light or that light? Yeah, blah, 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 blah. But it's founded in actual information. When something is founded upon an ideology that makes no sense, it is so easy to poke holes in. That's why most liberals will never have that conversation. Here's an exhibit of that. Here's the most blatant exhibit of it, and you will always tie a liberal up. Can you define fair share? You're always telling me we need to pay our fair share. Is that what you say? Yeah. Define it. And you will see people run from you. They will call you names. They will give you the middle finger. They will call you this and that and everything because you've reached a point in their ideology that they no longer have any basis to defend. There's no answer. So when Glenn's asking them these questions, it's the same thing. There's no answer. So then you start getting blah, 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 you start speaking in bull tongues or whatever because none of it makes sense. None of it. I challenge you. Next time you hear one of your friends or family members and they say, people got to be paying their fair share. Real simple question. All right, Billy, I've struggled with this. You may be right. I may need to change my ways. But before I change my ways, can you define fair share? And it's over. Like he just said, it's over.
To feed people is actually make money so you can buy seed and fertilizer and everything else so you can produce more food. It is the way the world works, Brian. And also humankind works by procreation. And so I'm only bringing this up because that was such a big deal in your argument. You brought it up 3 or 4 times about you care about the future of humanity. Well, you can't make that point as hard as you have and also deny that there is a difference between a man and a woman.
All of this USAID stuff, as we've heard on the news and we hear it all the time, the little kids over there, they're starving. It's humane. What are we going to do? Those kids might end up dying. Chris Murphy, the other day I showed it to you. You know, we can't have kids dying. Chris, I just saw you do a speech, and you're a big advocate for baby removal. What's the deal? Oh, that's right, they're not kids. Okay, gotcha. I saw this comment pop up, and it says, I learned today that you can't even ask a question anymore. You can't spark dialogue and exchange ideas. They go right to an attack. Yep. Why? Because there's nothing behind the veil. It is literally, it's worse than the Wizard of Oz. You pull the curtain open, at least there's a guy back there, you know, trying to make some stuff happen. Boom, boom, don't watch what's behind the curtain. I am the glorious, magical Oz. There's no Oz. There's nothing. You pull that curtain back and it's just, what do you got? Define fair share. It's a simple question. If you tell me I need to pay my fair share, then you must know what a fair share is. Otherwise, the entire premise of your statement is completely illogical. And you can watch right there, people just completely implode. Just like that. How can you tell me what X and Y is if you can't tell me what a man and a woman is? Huh? No, your ideology. That's what you practice. That's what you preach. And I have a question about it, and like the woman said, you don't even know the answer to it. So this is why I say we're getting close to, if not already in, the next American Revolution, is because we're talking to people who have nothing to say to you. We can't speak. The ideological lines are so blurred, and there's such a wall that you can't ask certain questions like that. Hey, Fred, define fair share. Hey, Fred, can you define a man or a woman? Hey, Fred. and their entire premise of being falls completely apart. Completely. So right now, the only thing holding them together, the only thing that the appearance, the mirage that they have is based on stealing your money. Because the more money they can steal from you, the more they can influence the media and governments and schools. Because without the illusion, it all falls apart. There's no one behind the curtain. It's all a lie. The entire Democrat Party is built on lies, corruption, crime. There's nothing behind it. I want you to really understand that everything they stand for is a lie. Most of us don't believe that certain, thing that happened in 2020. There's nothing you're going to convince me after what I saw that man won that election. And because we're talking about that, and we're finding out that even, that thing was possibly fake. I'm like, everything. We've been worked like puppets, dancing marionettes to the government that has sold you out for decades. Decades and decades and decades. And if you step out of line, you get what's coming to you.
I was just listening on your conversation about Doge. Jake, I'm surprised that you never figured out a way to get involved in this USA. I mean, everybody's on the take except you. What's going on?
Okay, hold on. Let me play that.
No, I would have started an NGO. Where's my NGO? You had everything except the money laundering. You had the grift. You had the virtue signaling.
So these guys are a group of billionaires and near billionaires who Trump is now, one of them, David Sachs, he's brought in to be his AI czar. And they're talking about what they're seeing here with USAID. And one of the guys that they talked to, his name is Antonio Gracias. He's going to be the guy, let me get there, up here when they're talking. And he's going to tell you something that I hope you're seated when you hear what you're about to hear. Because this will tell you, You ain't seen nothing yet.
All
If I had
except the
known.
actual money.
Let me up-level this for a second, okay? So we knew the U.S. government runs a $2 trillion deficit every year. We're in debt almost $40 trillion. And we also knew that anytime anyone tries to cut anything in Washington, the whole city screams bloody murder, okay? So the question is just why? Well, now we know. The money is all going to them. It's like round-tripping to them. New York Times, getting paid. Politico, getting paid. Bill Kristol, perennial warmonger, getting paid. Ukraine, getting paid. Like 11 out of 12 publications, Ukraine, getting paid.
Incredible.
Viktor Orban, who's the prime minister of Hungary, was saying that he's very popular in Hungary. His political opposition, funded by USAID. In Poland, the left-wing political opposition funded by USAID, and on and on and on it goes.
BBC. You wonder why everyone in the UK.
paid.
So yeah.
Like
I couldn't believe the BBC's getting paid.
Every left-wing organization in the world seems to be getting paid by this slush fund at USAID, which disperses about $50 billion a year. That's $1 billion a week. That's actually a lot of money. And so it makes you wonder. You know, the left in general tries to portray itself as a movement of the people, that it's grassroots. This is the exact opposite. This is AstroTurf. This is basically money coming from the top down out of Washington to fund all of these groups, maybe not even in the United States, like all over the world. So it makes you wonder, what is the real level of local support for these?
What is the actual level of local support? That's what I'm talking about. That's why, I mean, to me, that's the basis of why I've been telling you that this party is dead. Because at this point, nothing that you see from the left can you determine at this point is actually viable and real. It's all AstroTurf. If they've cornered the media, if they've cornered entertainment, if they've cornered sports, Beyonce wins the country album of the year. And they're throwing this ideology into your schools. And they can do certain things with voting machines. And they can make sure that the message that they want you to hear is so Orwellian at this point that you cannot determine real from fake. And then they decided they were going to have this, misinformation, disinformation bureau. And that disinformation people were going to say what you were saying is disinformation, not what they were saying. They wanted to isolate themselves so they could be the people who are saying everything they say is correct, everything you say is trash. Everything you mention is fake. And right now we're starting to see a systematic destruction of this giant behemoth that has dictated what you think, see, eat, take, is all falling apart. And the worst thing for people who want to live in an Orwellian state is for people to begin doubting. And now it's to the point where the message is starting to filter out there that, hey, we've been BS'd. I mean, somebody had posted something yesterday. It was an amazing video. And it was that part, if you guys haven't seen the movie, it's that part in The Truman Show, that movie with Jim Carrey. It's a beautiful day, and he's out on the lake, and he's sailing in the boat, and it's just beautiful blue sky everywhere, and boom, he gets into an accident. And what happened? Well, the bow of the boat went through the wall of the studio. And he realizes at that point that his entire life has been orchestrated, choreographed. This week, our boats just ran into the wall. Some of us had our doubts. None of us actually knew. We felt something just wasn't right. That stuff on the back of our neck was standing up for quite some time. But this week, that boat ran smack dab in the middle of that wall. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look at that part in The Truman Show. You can probably find it on YouTube or something, where Jim Carrey's just having a great day in the sun. It's beautiful. He's just sailing along, living his life. Until he wasn't. Until he realized that his entire entire life has been a lie. We have an illusion of freedom because it was something that they allowed us to have at the point that we have it. Yeah, these little roaches will be fine, do this. But then all of a sudden this guy shows up and comes down this escalator talking about, I'm gonna tell everybody what the hell's going on. I'm gonna tell them how this has been going on. There's 300,000, 400,000 kids missing. All these people. And it accelerated. It turned that sailing boat into a motorboat, and we all just went smack dab into that wall. Now, the problem is, as we're climbing out of the boat and ripping open the screen and tearing apart all of the, canvas, and then we're looking inside, and we're seeing, oh shit. Oh crap. Oh my God. Is it really this bad? And now you're going to find out it's even worse.
Left-wing policies all over the world.
Yeah, crazy.
The way the government works, a department just basically asks for money from Treasury and they send it out. We all run businesses. There's a reconciliation process. You have a contract, you issue a PO against it, something comes in, you check that it came in, service is rendered, and then you issue a payable, and then a month later you pay it, right? That doesn't happen in the U.S. government. There is that process is broken. It used to happen. It's broken now. And so literally money's flowing out. I used to ask myself this question: why are the numbers always revised? Why are they always wrong? How can the government know how much money it's spending? Just hit the button on the computer and figure it out. The problem is,
have you ever asked yourself that? We're going to talk about some revisions. How do you have to always keep revising things? Because like he just said, and that guy's name is Antonio Gracias, he runs business. Everybody runs a business, your own home. What do you mean it got to revise? The electric bill is $300 this month, and we paid a check for $300. You can't go back to your spouse and go, it was actually $650, but I misread it. When they sent it to us in the digital form, it was I thought it was only $300. I need to revise it up. Doesn't happen. When you run a construction business and they say, hey, the bricks cost this much a pallet. Okay, I agree to pay that. Send me the invoice. It is the same as I agreed to. Please pay it. What you're going to find out right here is the government never, ever, ever has had that process that I just illustrated in the last 25 or 30 seconds. If they got a request, they paid it. No questions asked. No reconciliation.
that button doesn't exist. We spent time early on. I was at Mar-a-Lago, Elon, trying to track through, how does the money actually flow? No one could tell us how it actually flows. Where is it going out? People didn't know. And it's totally crazy. And it's the reason
it all goes through Treasury, Antonio? Or can you just explain that to us?
Well, so I will try to explain it to you. I'm not sure I have full command of it. I'm not sure anyone does quite yet. It goes to Treasury ultimately, but it was supposed to flow through the way it was supposed to work. It was changed in the 70s, in 1973. The Nixon administration in 71, let me go back, they came off the gold standard, which allowed deficits. In 73, at the nadir of the Nixon presidency, Congress took away from the presidency the executive power, this thing called apportionments, which was the power of the executive to stop spending. So Nixon was abusing it by stopping things he didn't want, and so Congress took it away from him. What that means today is the executive, as he reaches in, it's very hard to just stop payments. So what's happening is the government is put in a process where they would just have an authorized executive kind of stamp a bill that got paid. That broke. I don't know when it broke, but it broke sometime. So the money flow now, department gets a budget authorized to it by Congress. It goes to OMB. OMB allocates the budget. That department.
Hold on. I got to interject there. In that process, he tells you, it goes from here, and then it goes to OMB. And then once it goes to OMB, it gets distributed. Well, Trump just put a giant roadblock in that entire scenario. That roadblock It wasn't Scott Bessent, because Scott Bessent isn't in the investigatory reconciliation process. When it gets to his office, he just has to make sure that it has the right approval and whatever, and pay it. That block in the road, which is why they were screaming during that overnight hearing, is Russ Vought, I hope I'm pronouncing his name, Russ Vought, is now the new OMB director. So there now is a traffic cop in place who's going to be looking at these different requests and saying, yay, 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 no, no, no. He also happens to be the author of Project 2025, which these people were screaming about. Now you know why they were against Russ Vought. Not because of all the racial stuff in DEI. Now he just explained it. Antonio just said, without saying it, that the OMB director is now the traffic cop who decides what gets past him to get to the Treasury. That's huge.
Just sends a money request to Treasury to pay. It is not reconciled against what happened. This is one of the reasons.
Yeah, and that's it. There's no controller. There's no controller function like there is in a normal company.
100%. There is no control.
Yeah.
There is no controller. There's no reconciliation. The reason they can't pass audits, okay, the reason this happens is because you can't audit something you haven't reconciled. The only audit that I've seen is actually from the Social Security Administration, and when you read it, I've got one of my partners who have read the thing. It's just riddled with material weaknesses. There are probably.
Do you think there are individuals that have made like millions or billions of dollars from mispayments overseas? Like, is this kind of what's gone on in the missing money in Ukraine, do you think? Like, it's kind of found its way to the wrong places?
Yeah, I mean, so what I don't know what happened in Ukraine.
Such
I don't.
A crazy story.
Yeah, it is shocking about Ukraine. I will say that I have business experience trying to work in businesses that had Medicaid and Medicare's payments. I wanted to make that better, right? We used this to make the world better. And we just stopped because we found so much fraud. I mean, I'm certain we literally have a rule here, government payor in those areas, if it's more than like a third of the business, we don't do it. And in the services space, this is why we found continuous fraud.
Continuous fraud. So bad, this guy's a billionaire and he won't touch it. I want nothing to do with this stuff in the Medicare and you know, those invoices. So for decades now, what you're finding out is your country that handles your money has no handle whatsoever and has had no handle for quite some time as to where the money goes. And so right now, you are starring in your own Truman Show.
Project Mockingbird was the project of the deep state to control us via the media. But it worked much better in an era where there were 3 broadcast networks. You didn't have to control that many properties. The reason that the narrative broke was because Goliath was focused on controlling the mainstream media properties, and it didn't think it had to care about the off Joe Rogan man cave stuff. Why should it care what a podcast was? Who cares what gets said on pirate radio, right? But that mattered a lot because people, when they realized they were being lied to and they were doing harm to themselves because of those lies, tuned out the mainstream media and they started searching for information elsewhere. The punchline is, if you want to beat the deep state, what you need to do is you need to drag Goliath onto territory he doesn't understand. That's where we win.
That's what I've been telling you. You got to grab Goliath and take him to places where he is unsure of himself, and that's where we win. That's why podcasts and all this kind of new media is really taking hold. It is almost like the CB of our area, or the ham radio. Because now we're all ham radio operators, and we're talking to each other. Hey, you guys got anything over there? They can't stop us unless they completely stop us. They can try to do their different things that they may try. But there's becoming too many of us who have built audiences. Too many people on X. They lost X, which was probably their biggest mistake ever. The biggest mistake they possibly could have had was letting Elon Musk, and I say but letting him take over control of X. Because by doing so, he gave us all a voice. Which is why, at the same time, you heard them all trying to stop it. We cannot have these people talking. Goliath can't take this many stones upside his head. And that's why it's so important for you, and I'll beat this dead horse until it's got no leather left on it, for you to get in the game and talk. For you to get in the game and spread the word. Keep talking. Let people know. Hey, did you know there's no brakes on the payment system at the Treasury? If it comes in, no matter who it goes to, it goes out? And it's been that way basically for decades? No, I didn't know that. In fact, many people are like, you're crazy. There's no way. There's no way our government would have ever let that happen. But it's true. We just didn't know. As much as I've dug into politics, I had no idea what we're seeing right now is this bad. And I'm also beginning to feel as though, as I've mentioned a couple of times about the musical chairs, I almost feel at this point there are a lot of people reaching out for these chairs. There are a bunch of people going, I don't want to be in this position. Help me. I've been stuck. I'm telling you, it's not just me. Wait till you see this. Wait till you see this. Breaking. Zelensky just said he's willing to give up Ukraine's rare earth minerals to the United States as a form of repayment for the aid. These deposits are priceless. It's a huge amount of money. Huge. That's why we need to protect it. So if we are talking about a deal, that's what the Americans want, then let's do a deal. We are only for it. Let's do the deal. This is very rich land. This does not mean we are giving it away to anyone, even to strategic partners. We are talking about a partnership. Let's develop this together. President Trump, as you have seen, is truly special. Nobody even considered asking for Ukraine's minerals except him, and now he's going to get it. So this guy over there has played ball for so long, and now he sees what's about to happen. You want all this stuff? It's okay. You can have. You have. Here, eat. I read that and I had to reach out to George. Tell me this source is real. He goes, yeah, it's real. Just imagine. Trump mentions it at a meeting or a press conference. Yeah, these rare earth minerals. Yeah, they got some stuff we could use. And right away, he's like, boss, you're boss. You have, you take. We work together. Nobody would have seen that coming. Nobody would have seen it coming that Zelensky wants to cut a deal. I'm not going to give it to you. Let's have partnership. Let's work together. You have any idea how much money is in those rare earth minerals? I don't even know. I can't even comprehend how much money's there. And now Zelensky's, I'm willing to do it because I don't want to face the next, 40 years of my life in some cell in, Russia. All because of Trump. Stunning. So you're telling me we're going to end this war, and in addition to ending the war, we are going to make bank. I would have never saw that one coming. Talk about art of the deal. We'll let you live. Here's what you're going to do. You and Vlad here are going to cut a deal, and we're going to dig up this whole area, and we're going to get rich together. United States and you. I've never seen nothing like this. I've never seen anything like this. This is absolutely stunning. Stunning. How bad does it get, Barry? This is so crazy, Elon says. Congress funneled $516 billion of your money into expired programs. with zero oversight in 2024. The CBO just revealed that Congress spent $516 billion in 2024 programs with expired authorization, some dating back 40 years. I told you it was going to get bad tonight. I told you might throw up. Talk about drinking some spoiled milk. The born-on date with some of these things are 40 years ago, and you're still paying for it. And Congress just looked the other way, and they spent $500 billion in 1 year on programs that don't exist anymore. Despite rules against funding unauthorized programs, lawmakers ignored them, letting billions flow without updated approvals or oversight. Even worse, 251 more authorizations are set to expire this year, including $892 billion in defense spending. Yet Congress keeps writing blank checks. To who? This isn't governance. It's corruption. Congress is recklessly burning taxpayer money on programs they haven't even bothered to approve. I got no answer for you, because that couldn't happen without Republicans going along with it. You're seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're seeing Nancy Mace, you're seeing people out there ringing the bell, screaming about all this, and the only question that most of us should have is, where the hell were you last year? Did you not see this? How did you not see this? Tell me how you didn't see this. No answers. We're not talking about an NGO. We are talking about $500 to $900 billion spent on programs that don't even exist. If they don't exist, where the F did the money go? If these things have been outdated, some for 40 years, where the hell did the money go? Let me just let you look at that. $516 billion on programs that some dated back, expired over 40 years ago. So probably some of you right now are literally screaming. You go to work every single day, you religiously pay your taxes, and they've been just bending us over like bull to bull, like that guy was talking. I almost feel Trump has to make a statement. Maybe a good time to make the statement would be at the State of the Union address, which is going to be the most lit State of the Union address ever given. I'm not sure of the date. I think it's early March. And at that State of the Union address, he should say, for the time being, I am suspending the payment and collection of income tax from personal individuals. Right now, I think we owe it to Americans to say, hold up. Gotta hold up. They will lose it. There'll be people fainting at the State of the Union address if he were to say that. April 15th, nope, we're just going to hold off. Even though you guys are on 1099s, April 15th, we're going to pump the brakes right now. We're recovering. So this is just USAID. Wait till they get to the Department of Education and Department of Defense. If there was ever a time for us to say, whoa, make sure Social Security is paid. Make sure Medicare is paid. Make sure interest is paid on our debt. Everything else, defense. Everything else, we're just going to have to hold off. Obviously, vets. You know, the necessities. Everything else, we don't need to collect any of that money. We just need to figure out where this money's going. And I bet you'd be for that, wouldn't you? Yeah. How much they spent, and Kamala wanted us to pay more taxes. The money is in their bank account. The cockroaches are running. And what's sad about this is all out there, and the media won't talk about it. They're crying about Elon Musk looking. I've given you the analogy too many times. At this point, it's a dead horse. You people are screaming about the process instead of what the process found. All of you, both sides, you got some splaining to do. And I would love if the State of the Union just became the state of him going in there and whooping some butt. Just start taking some politicians and just spanking them. I don't know how to explain it to you any further than this. It's disgusting. I know you guys feel it's disgusting. And we're pretty much, I won't say stuck, because we have to figure out what moves he has to make. We're seeing some conflicting stuff with judges right now. This thing came out while we've been talking. SV sent it to me. The labor union tried to sue the Department of Labor. And what ended up happening was a D.C. judge denied the attempt to restrict Doge from accessing the Department of Labor. They don't even want us looking. All this was for Doge to access the Department of Labor, and they sued. Luckily, the judge said, no. We got to see what you people have been doing. It's incredible. This may sound like winning because it's partly winning, but at the same token, it's still happening. And as long as this mockingbird media is out there just ignoring it. Big balls, big balls, big balls, big balls. Are you serious? Are you really talking about some kid's handle? Are you really talking about a kid's handle on social media? Really? That's what you want to cover on the news and not what's actually happening? That tells you everything you need to know right there, doesn't it? Tells you everything. Let me go ahead and continue with this video because I want you to see this. I started it this afternoon. This is John Kennedy from Louisiana.
DC. That's what Mr. Musk is doing. He's put together a crackerjack team, and they're going through everybody's spending line by line, item by item. And my Democratic colleagues are very, very, very upset. And they've been very eloquent. They've talked about the process, and President Trump's executive order supposedly violates the Constitution. And they've accused Mr. Musk of having conflicts of interest. And so I've heard people say he's sitting over there with a notepad, copying down everybody's Social Security number, and he's going to go use it to make money. I mean, people in this town, not just my Democratic colleagues, they're really upset. They've never said anybody question their spending. But that's what Mr. Musk is doing. But you know, I've listened. This has been going on for a week. People have been screaming like they're part of a prison riot. Oh, my God, look at what Musk is doing. He's looking at the spending. And I've listened to people talk about the process and debate whether it's constitutional and discuss how many lawyers can dance on the head of a pin. But you know what? I haven't heard one single person who's upset with President Trump or Mr. Musk talk about what he's found. They don't want to talk about the spending porn, the waste of taxpayer money that he's found. I mean, that's the point of all this. I tell you who is interested, the American people.
And that's where you come in. That's specifically where you come in. You have to be pissed off enough of what you've seen to forget these 100 senators, forget these 300 or 400 people in Congress. We are legion. There is a lot more of us than there are of them. And this is something we have to speak out to. Ignore the media. They're lying. They're covering for everybody. They don't want you to know how complicit they are. And as you've seen, they are quite complicit. It doesn't get any worse than what we've seen. Well, no, let me stop that. It will get worse than what you've seen. Prepare for the worst. You will not believe what happens when they get to the Department of Defense.
The people in America who get up every day and go to work and obey the law and pay their taxes and try to educate their kids and try to do the right thing by their kids and try to save a little money for retirement, and have had to live through 20% inflation under President Biden, they understand what Musk is doing. They understand spending porn and wasting taxpayer money. Now, Mr. Musk started with the USAID. That handles a lot of foreign aid for America. American people are very generous. In our country, when you're homeless, we'll house you. When you're...
So I saw somebody in the comments who's kind of giving it away who's seen this. He starts bringing out some props. They're going to blow your mind. These charts that he's got.
When you're hungry, we'll feed you. In our country, when you're too poor to be sick, we'll pay for your doctor. And we send a lot of money overseas to help our world's neighbors. And the USAID is in charge, in large part, of that. But I'll tell you what Mr. Musk discovered. I found it fascinating. He discovered that the American taxpayers are giving money to Afghanistan. He found that we are giving money to Yemen. He found that we are giving money to Syria. I didn't know that. Some of our foreign aid is going to Yemen, Afghanistan, Syria. He found that the USAID has 10,000 people. 10,000 people, employees. And every year they give away $40 billion. Mr. Musk also found, and I'm not saying that all of this money is wasteful. I'm not. Some of this money, I'm sure, does some good. That's why Secretary Rubio is going to revamp the department and separate the good from the bad. But this is the kind of stuff Mr. Musk found. He found that the USAID gave money to support electric vehicles in Vietnam. Our money, taxpayer money. He found that USAID gave money to a transgender clinic in India. I didn't know that. I bet you the American people didn't know that. He found...
But the question, as he talked about that, who did know? If our senators in the United States government didn't know this, who knew? Because somebody had to be issuing the invoices for these, Wally the Nigerian to pay. Who knew that this money was going to go to this program? How did these senators and Congress people not know? And how did it bypass Congress and the senators and the president? Now you're seeing where this deep state thing actually starts making sense. It's like, well, if you didn't know and the president didn't know, who the hell was authorizing this to happen? That person needs to hang.
That the USAID gave $1.5 million to a Serbian LGBTQ group called Grupa Doge. I probably mispronounced that. My apologies. Anyway, they got $1.5 million to, quote, advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business community. What else did Mr. Musk found that my colleagues don't want to talk about? Well, he reviewed a study and then went and checked it. The study was done by the Middle East Forum. They found that USAID spent $164 million to support radical organizations around the world. We're not talking Cub Scout troops here. We're talking about radical organizations around the world. They gave $122 million of that to groups aligned with foreign terrorist organizations. Our taxpayer money. According to this report in Mr. Musk, the USAID has given millions of dollars to, quote, organizations in Gaza controlled by Hamas. Why aren't my colleagues talking about that? Recipients of the money, they found, have, quote, called for their lands to be cleansed from the impurity of Jews. That's who we're giving foreign aid to. What else? I'm not going to spend my whole time talking about this, but nobody else is talking about it. They're just talking about the process. And Mr. Musk, and he's a mean guy, and he shouldn't be looking at our spending. Well, he is. And I kind of find what he's found out interesting. He found that we gave $2 million, USAID did, for sex changes in Guatemala. He found that we gave $20 million to produce a new Sesame Street show in Iraq. He found that we gave $4.5 million of taxpayer money to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. He found that we gave $10 million, USAID did, of meals to an al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group called the NUSRA Front. Mr. Musk found that we gave $7.9 million of taxpayer money to a project that would teach Sri Lankan journalists to avoid binary gendered language. The USAID took $8 million and gave it to a bunch of journalists in Sri Lanka to teach them how to avoid binary gendered language. I don't know what the hell binary gendered language.
As he's going through this litany of things, whoever put this video together and they stitched it together, it just makes your stomach crawl. We were funding, we were funding our enemies. We're funding a whole bunch of money in the Department of Defense to defend against the enemies, while we're spending a whole bunch of money over here and we're giving the enemy all kinds of money. If you didn't believe in a deep state before this week, there is no question at this point that it now exists. You're hearing an elected senator who have said he and many of his colleagues have told him, I have no idea what the hell this is. So if your elected government doesn't know, then that other column of government who is in the shadows is running all of this. And that column of government in the shadow who's running all of this can't be really happy right now. The worst thing for them is exposure. And everything we're seeing is a big flashlight of exposure. I'm convinced once they get through the Department of Defense, you're going to find out there is not a single reason to be collecting income tax. I'm almost to the point where I'm willing to put a hypothesis together that they were spending all of this to keep income tax. That they were spending it to let you know, hey, we need this money, otherwise the country will go broke. And they're like, oh, we got a $34 trillion deficit, and we need to raise more taxes. Because the more that they could say we didn't have the money, and not even senators could question that, then they went through these omnibus passages. Oh, we're going to do like another $4 trillion omnibus thing. Why? Well, because we got to keep the grift going. Somebody somewhere, a group of people, have obviously been doing this for quite some time, and I really feel it's to keep us as lab rats. To make you feel, even to make Democrats feel, as though income tax is absolutely necessary.
Language is. I think I do. You think most taxpayers would support that? Why aren't we talking about that? The USAID gave $1.5 million to promote LGBT advocacy in Jamaica. They gave $1.5 million to rebuild the Cuban media ecosystem. They gave $1.5 million for, quote, art for inclusion of people with disabilities in Belarus. Another $3.9 million for LGBT causes in Macedonia. $8.3 million for equity and inclusion education in Nepal. I could go all night. And
one of the things I saw somebody put in here in terms of why they always freak out about the government shutting down, because if the government shut down, it wasn't because there wouldn't be park rangers. It wouldn't be because your Social Security is not going to get paid. It's because they couldn't keep the grift going. The river of slime would slow down or stop because there's no approval. The guy, Wally the Nigerian, couldn't keep spending money. So you gotta do whatever you gotta do. We can't have the government shut down because we gotta keep the planes coming in and sending that stuff over to Kazakhstan.
Colleagues are upset. They're really mad Mr. Musk. Hell, I think we ought to give him a medal. All he's doing is what President Trump said he was going to do. President Trump said he's going to audit the spending. So Trump goes and hires Musk, again with a top secret security clearance. Nobody can quibble with his intelligence. You know, the guy's as smart as Einstein's cousin. He's a very successful businessman. Some say he's the richest guy in the world. And he's doing the auditing. And man, he's finding a lot of stuff. I call it spending porn. Now, I'm not saying everything that USAID does is wasted, but I'm saying a lot of it is. A hell of a lot of it is. And we ought to be on the floor of this United States Senate thanking Mr. Musk. And we ought to be asking him to go through every agency and look at everybody's budget. Everybody's budget. That's what the American people want. They don't want to talk about process. They don't want to continue with the Washington way. They want to save some money. Now, let me tell you.
Let me ask you a question. Those of you who saw this, obviously, but those of you who hadn't seen it, why was this not televised? Why were there no news networks who said, you know what? This is some serious gold. This is one of the senators in our government who's now talking about all this stuff, and he's naming receipts of what countries got this stuff. Why did this just get buried? Not CNN, not even Newsmax, maybe. Nobody talked about this. Nobody showed this. I think it's like 10 minutes of him getting up in the well of the Senate and saying, "Blah." Nobody covered it. The Mockingbird media and the deep state shut it down, except for on Twitter.
What's really going on here, too, Mr. President? For 4 years under President Biden, and for 8 years under President Obama, I have all the respect in the world for President Biden and President Obama. Tough job. But between them, they spent 12 years in Washington, and presidents set the tone. They control the questions that are asked. And here's the question that President Obama and President Biden asked for 8 years. I heard it for 12 years. I heard it every single day. Who needs to pay more in taxes? Is it you? Is it you? Who needs to pay more in taxes? We need more money. Who needs to pony up more? That was the issue. But that's not the issue today. We have a new president. You know what the issue is today? What the hell happened to all the money? What the hell happened to all the money? And that's what Mr. Musk is finding out. That's all this is about. And I'm just shocked that my colleagues have decided that this is a hill they're going to die on. How can you look the American people in the eye and support this kind of waste? Support this kind of spending porn? I mean, the election...
Well, wait, sorry, Senator Kennedy. It's not waste. We need to right now, today, stop calling it waste. Stop calling it cutesy names like spending porn. What we're seeing is a crime of epic proportions. It's criminal. It's theft. Call it what it is. It is specifically theft. Let's not beat around the bush whatsoever. We are watching probably the biggest crime and the most sustained crime in American history. All of it. Bigger than JFK. It's inexcusable that it's been allowed to occur over a period of decades while you've enslaved the American people. I'm telling you right now, if you didn't take money out of people's paychecks, if the employers weren't mandated to take that money out of their checks every 2 weeks, April 15th would be a bloodbath. Because I bet you 70-80% of people would be like, I'm done. I am so done. No more. But you've taken that choice away from Americans. Americans who worked every single day for years and years and years at a time, who faithfully paid their taxes, did whatever they could that they thought they were doing their duty. Who thought because, even their Christianity said you have to pay your taxes. So I'm going to tell you something right now. Many of you may not want to hear it. But you have been a victim. You have been a victim of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals #4. because many of you have been faithfully law-abiding citizens, Christian citizens who were taught, you got to pay your taxes. That's the right thing to do. And today, that number 4 rule of basically using your ideology against you is being shredded. Shredded. Again, if you haven't seen it, go look up number 4, Rules for Radicals. Using your ideology against you. You have to faithfully pay taxes. It's the Christian thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's the law. You want to be a law-abiding citizen. You have to. And that's the ideology we were taught since we were way high in our education system. Or rather, what I like to call our programming system, who told us very young age, Robin and I have talked about this, at a very young age, what were you taught for the most part, if you're my age and growing up? You were taught, respect your elders, respect authority. That's what we grew up on. If your teacher said something, if your doctor said something, if the police said something, if the government said something, you were supposed to respect it and not question it. I can't tell you how many times I was, as a young kid, that was told to me. He's a doctor. Oh. He's a police officer. Oh. He's in government. Oh. So I have to blindly do whatever these people say. Yes! Those of you who are around my age, you remember. Well, don't talk back. That was the other thing. Don't talk back to your elders. So they're elder policemen, elder doctors, and we weren't even, and your teacher, hey, don't be acting up in school, don't ask. We were told. So you just were compliant as you grew up, because those rules started here, and as you got older, otherwise you'd be a problem child. Oh no, we got to go set you in detention and stick you out back somewhere. You might disrupt the other kids and have these other kids start questioning my authority. And then you just keep growing in that ideology, and you got to the point where you are today. And Saul Alinsky's rule number 4, use their ideology against them. And so many of you have grown up in a system that has programmed you to not question this. And now it's all, it's short-circuiting. This does not compute. What the hell's going on? You are short-circuiting for the good at this point. So let's let him continue.
To me, made at least one thing clear, that the American people are sick and tired of people in Washington denying reality. The last administration tried to convince us that we were living in a crime-free world where inflation was temporary and the border was secure. And the American people didn't buy it. You know why? Because it wasn't true. And the administration, our last administration, tried to argue that Bidenomics was making our lives better. But the American people knew differently. They understood Bidenomics to mean I get to spend more to live worse. And they voted. Now, the American people were poorer under the last administration, but they didn't become stupid. They could see that the government was creating a problem, not trying to fix it. And they noticed the national debt, too. Put up that first chart for me.
Before he gets to his charts, you can now clearly see, based on the contrast of the two administrations and this administration in its first 3 weeks, 17 days. Newcomers. Oh, 20,000 a day, 10,000 a day. Biden comes out to the reporters, I can't do anything. I need Congress to give me more money, more resources. Mayorkas, the border is secure. As you're seeing people run around. Because you could see with your own eyes that it wasn't, but the Democrats kept saying it's secure. You're making it up. There is no invasion. What 300,000 kids? It's a pipe dream.
You know what our national debt is, Mr. President? $36 trillion. Not million, not billion, $36 trillion. It takes my breath away. Highest it's ever been, over 100% of our gross domestic product. Our debt's growing faster than our economy. And we toss around these numbers, $1 trillion, $1 billion, $1 million. Since 2019, America's population has grown 2%. We're not having babies, 2%. And that's after massive immigration. You know how much our budget has grown? 55%. 55%. Yeah, we've had inflation, but we haven't had 55% worth of inflation. That's how we got to this $36 trillion in debt. Put up the next chart for me. Now, some of this money we had to spend during the pandemic. And it was a bipartisan effort during the pandemic. Republicans voted for it and Democrats voted for it because we had no choice. I was there. I saw it from the inside. We came this close to losing the American economy. And you know who helped a lot, doesn't get enough credit? Jay Powell at the Federal Reserve. I watched it. The whole world wanted to go into a cave and retreat. Back in the Great Recession, I remember all the other countries in the world who looked to us. They may hate us, but they know we're the greatest country in all of human history. They look to America. And you know what? Back in the Great Recession, all the other countries wanted they wanted treasuries, treasury notes, treasury bonds. Not this time. They were so scared they didn't want treasuries. They wanted dollars, cash dollars. So Jay Powell, thank the Lord, he goes over to the Federal Reserve. He opens what's called a currency swap line, and he told every country, you want dollars? I'll trade your dollars for your currency. And everything calmed down. He doesn't get any credit for that, but it was a gutsy thing to do. But on top of that, to save the American economy, that wasn't helping the American economy. We had to keep the economy going. We spent a lot of money. But then COVID ended, and what we should have done was go back to pre-COVID spending. But we didn't do that. President Biden, after the shutdowns and the coronavirus, the pandemic was over, passed the American Rescue Plan. COVID was over. He spent $1.9 trillion. Never let a good crisis go to waste. I didn't vote for it. Then he came back and passed what he called an infrastructure bill. It was really just the Green New Deal. I know what's in that bill. That was another $1.2 trillion. And then he passed the Inflation Reduction Act. I didn't vote for it, but that was another $1.0 trillion. And then he passed the CHIPS Act. This is really special. He said, big tech, the semiconductor companies need our money. They need taxpayer money. They're not making enough money. And he gave them money. He didn't give hardware stores money. President Biden didn't give the healthcare industry money. He said, I want to help big tech. And boy, they sucked it up like a Hoover Deluxe. We spent $280 billion subsidizing big tech. And you add it all up, and that's $4.3, almost $4.5 trillion. And that's how we got $36 trillion in debt. And that's why Donald Trump said, I'm going to look at every single line item of spending. And that's why he gave the job to Elon Musk, and that's why Musk is auditing these accounts. But nobody wants to talk about what he's finding. Nobody wants to talk about the spending porn, except the American people. They get it, Mr. President. They get it. And I hope Mr. Musk continues. My colleague and friend, we had a little discussion in banking today. Senator Warner makes a good point. He wants Mr. Musk to come over and talk to Congress about how he's doing this. I'm all for that. I am all for that. I would love to have him come over and walk us through what he's doing and how.
Except for the fact they can't handle that. You see, I had mentioned that to you when we were watching the Kash Patel hearing. And before the hearing even started, I said to you, they're going to trash him. They're going to use their 7 minutes and pontificate and attack him any way they can. But they're not going to ask him questions. Why will they not ask him questions, Barry? Because they don't want the answer. Because the answer, because it's televised, everybody's going to see the answer, and at that point, they expose themselves. And that was on Kash Patel being the FBI director, and that was exactly what it did. They spent 7 minutes, blah, 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 and they never really asked him anything. Do you think, with everything that you've seen in the last few days, that any of those people in Congress feel like asking Elon Musk what he found? Hell no. They're going to attack him. They're going to talk about big balls. They're going to say these kids, blah, blah. Anybody want to ask me? what you actually found? The Republicans will, which is why I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think he will ever go sit in front of Congress. Do it. Prove us wrong. Get there so everybody can ask, what did you find and how did you find it? Oh no, it'd be like, did you get the Social Security numbers, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to talk about it. That tells you there's some serious fire under that smoke. And there's just more and more and more coming out.
He's discovering all this spending porn. We need all the help we can get on reducing our spending because we can't continue at this pace. I just wanted to spend a few minutes putting all this in.
He just said something there that every person watching, every person in America, every person in Congress, every person in the Senate has to know. We're $36 trillion in debt. How can you possibly continue the way you're doing if you have any idea, any way, shape, or form of getting America right again? Because if you're worried about these payments stopping to Kazakhstan, then you're telling me you don't care about getting America fixed. America is not your priority. Somebody else is. And that's what people have to understand.
Effective, Mr. President. The world's not going to spin off its axis, folks. Every business that I know of goes through an audit. Now we're being audited, but we're being audited by not by the usual auditors, but we're being audited by a person appointed by the President of the United States. And I'm betting you when he's through, and he's going to go to all these agencies. He's starting on the Department of Education next. I think he'll end up finding that some of our money is being well spent, but he's also going to find that some of our money is being stolen and it's being wasted. And that's an insult to every taxpayer in this country. So I'm going to end like I began. We ought to be giving Mr. Musk a medal. We ought to be thanking him. Maybe nobody else wants to hear about this spending porn, but I can't wait to read the book. I hope he finds all of it and compiles it. I hope Marco Rubio, our new Secretary of State, takes USAID and shakes them by the shoulder and lifts up the good people there and fires the bad people, the people that wasted taxpayer money like this, giving money to terrorist organizations, giving money to organizations that support Hamas. Hope he gets rid of every single one of them.
Where's my clappy button? I got to give him a clap. It's been a week like no other. I've never seen anything like this. Most of you have never seen anything like this. And it's still more to go. They don't want anybody to know. You're absolutely right, Toy. With Republicans having the majority, the spotlight is on the rep that are traitors. They won't last long if they get in line. That would be freaking awesome if he where have the morals gone? For the love of money is the root of all evil. Hey Barry, you need to check out the Next News Network War on Mexico played tonight, saying might go to war with cartels. Well, that's coming. General Musk at attendance. Stop sending them. That's a lot of money. Stop sending them money. USAID should be shut down. That's just one. That's just one agency. Understand, everything most of us have been talking about is one agency. And what's really weird is that there's more. Just continue.
That includes a Pentagon audit, which to the Marines out there, y'all got to figure it out. And we appreciate that. Lean and mean. We are going to focus heavily to ensure that at a bare minimum, by the end of 4 years, the Pentagon passes a clean audit. The American taxpayers deserve that. They deserve to know where their $850 billion go, how it's spent, and make sure it's spent wisely. It used to be that if you called for an audit, somehow you were undermining the department. I believe the exact opposite. I believe we are accountable for every dollar we spend, and every dollar of waste we find or redundancy is a dollar we can invest somewhere else, as President Trump has committed directly to rebuilding our nation's military. So rebuilding our military is key.
So, Lloyd Austin, we have a question for you. Why did you never do what Pete Hegseth just did in his first, 8 days? Why is it that Pete Hegseth is ready to do an audit and cooperate with the auditors of the Department of Defense? Who were you hiding, Lloyd Austin? Who were you protecting? Because now it's all going to come out, just like with the Health and Human HHS. Kristi Noem, I'm sure she's doing an audit as well. Who is Mayorkas hiding? Because I've said for quite some time, this was not incompetence. Nobody can be this incompetent. This was 100% intentional. You were complicit. You looked the other way. You were paid to shut up and just let it happen. And you were willing to put people in jail who spoke up. So in my mind, that makes you criminal.
You have people all over the Beltway breathing in paper bags right now because the idea that you could bring in these people and they're going to sort of think outside the box. That's what Musk is known for. He's known for someone who rejects path dependence. He did that at Twitter. You know, they said he couldn't fire all those people at Twitter. He did that, and Twitter became more efficient, and the operations continued unimpeded. And that was against all the predictions that Twitter would literally shut down because it needed every one of those or most of those employees. So Musk is coming in here, and yeah, the terror alert in Washington is quite astonishing. But this idea that this is a danger to democracy is rather odd. You have a president who just ran on a pledge to shrink the government, to look for waste. He brought in someone from the outside for a reason, because past pledges by presidents have gone nowhere in terms of changing the way Washington functions. So he brought in this guy who operates with a different approach. And look, the truth is they want people to leave some of these positions. And as I said before, you know, the fact is that if you throw a badger into a crowded car, people are going to get out. And Musk is that badger. I mean, he threw him in that car, and they're trying to change the way government is composed and is running.
It is a brand new...
So I have a question. Why would you be upset with an audit? If I was sitting across from Maxine Waters, again, this is one of those questions they can't answer. Why would you be upset with people knowing where money was spent? How is that such an evil thing? Are you telling me all you Democrats don't want anybody to know what was spent? How do you ever expect to be viable as a political party if the stance you're taking is you should never question government spending? We watched this morning as you tried to storm the Department of Education and you didn't get in because you felt you were entitled to walk into this building. Are you not entitled to know where this money has been spent? Because if you're not, then you should resign today. Tonight, go, I don't understand my job. I don't understand accountability. Because that's what you're telling the American people in no uncertain terms. You are telling people you're mad because they're looking. You wanted to get, that 4-minute video of you berating that guy trying to get into the Department of Defense is going to be your downfall. And I hope whoever runs against you uses that video, because the statement you should have been making at that front door is, can you please get Elon Musk down here? We would love to help any way we can. Let's find out what's been going on. Would have been very easy. I cannot believe that $600 gazillion went here or there. We're here to roll up our sleeves and help you any way we can. Actually, I haven't heard that from anybody. Think about that. Why would they not be lined up with calculator in hand? Let's go. Who do we need to look at? Tell me how I need to report this. No, that's not what they were doing. That's not what they were doing.
world we're living in, isn't it, Cheryl, with these incredible changes that are coming. And so this is kind of, I guess you could say this is sort of the last report on Bidenomics, because it really reflects the dying days of the Biden administration.
I'd say that the big headline for me is something that you guys haven't talked about yet, but I'd encourage you to, is that we've got this thing going on where the professionals at the BLS keep revising down the data. And so the headline for me when I'm looking at this is that it was the biggest downward revision. You know, the benchmark goes through last March, the biggest downward revision since 2009. And we're still sifting through the numbers, but, you know, it's really, really big. Could be as much as, if you go a little bit beyond the month, the last month, it could be as much as 1 million jobs fewer than we thought after this benchmark revision. And so the thing is that why is it that we keep seeing sort of positive jobs numbers, and then when we look back a year later, it's way worse than we thought? And so I say that what we learned with all these downward revisions is that the Biden economy, the Biden jobs market, was way worse than markets thought. And that's sort of consistent with the rest of our views that their policies were unwise, and there's a lot of cleaning up to do. And I think that if you look at ISM that just came out, that people, market participants, believe that President Trump is going to be able to turn things around. And with these big downward revisions, we can see that there's actually a lot of work to do. China.
So in case you missed it, because you probably did, most of the media was not talking about the jobs report that came out today, which was the last report card on the Biden administration. And the reason why they weren't talking about it, because OMG, it was forged. Completely forged. Instead of it being the rosy number that Kamala and Joe tried to portray, they actually had to revise it by nearly 1 million jobs. How do you miss that many flipping decimal points? What DEI person was making these reports where they completely overstated the number of jobs to the point of it being absurd? I want to show you a couple of things here that's probably going to, curl your hair in terms of when you look at this stuff, because it's absolutely insane. What did I do with it? Did I mess it? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. I know what I did with it. Okay, here we go. All right, so if I can find this, 1 second, excuse me, because these things are absolutely crazy. What did I do? Okay, this is one. You ready? You ready for this? Because this is absolutely stunning. Elon Musk says, "Wow, wow, wow, wow." It's right. Geiger Capital said, "Holy crap! I thought this was a typo." In just January, 1 million newcomers, legal or illegal, gained a job. That's not a misprint. 1 million newcomers got jobs. Only 8,000 Americans got jobs. All net jobs gains post C-19 are immigrants. This is why they opened the border. Look at this. That's 2020, right when Biden supposedly won. And as you can see, it went way down, and then all of a sudden, all of the jobs went to other people. Newcomers. All of them. And it says, I specifically note legal and illegal because the government does not separate the two groups in their data set for foreign-born workers. However, based on the number, a large percentage of them are currently not from here. Zero Hedge also on it. Native-born workers since 2019, 700,000. Foreign, 4.5 million. This wasn't incompetence. This was fully intentional. Everybody who complained and said, "Oh, you guys keep talking about this big, this replacement theory." You're looking at the numbers. Zero Hedge put this out. Biden's legacy, 2024 jobs numbers revised 600,000 lower. This is coming right from BLR, Bureau of Labor, and it's right there. It all got revised. Everything they were saying during the election, it was all a lie. And now people are seeing it, and they can't believe what they're seeing. They cannot even fathom that they're seeing all this crap. And it's just, it's so anti-American. I mean, many of you probably have seen this in person, wherever you are. But now seeing it actual data, once it came out, is even worse. Okay, look at this one. Payment errors by program. I'm going to go back here. This is the payment errors that were made now, as we start looking at different things. Payment errors by program. From the article, 186 billion. 79% of such errors were concentrated in 5 program areas: Medicare, Medicaid, pandemic unemployment, earned income tax credit, paycheck protection program, loan forgiveness, and the numbers are just astounding. So as you're looking at this, every single thing, and I do mean just about every single thing that you've seen about this former administration was indeed the Truman Show. They were lying to you. The BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, revised downward the monthly pace of job gains from 2024 to an average of 166 from a previous estimate of 186, reinforcing expectations that hiring last year wasn't quite as robust as earlier data suggested. For the period covering, the U.S. added 589,000 fewer payrolls. So if you have nearly 1 million, let's say 600,000 less people paying taxes than you said, you were lying. The discrepancy is even further. We can never make this up. It's not coming back.
Is not going to jack up prices because of a 10% tariff in a way that's going to be probably even identifiable in the CPI.
It's not about China jacking up prices. It's American businesses having to pay the duty and having to bear the cost of the tariff. Then they pass it on to consumers. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about. I'll say my point another way. That suppose that you're buying something for $1. And then we say, hey, you got to pay a 10-cent tax. And then if the store charges $1.10, then the person who's buying the stuff from the store pays the 10 cents tax. And if the store charges $1, then the store is only getting 90 cents now. And so the question is, what's going to happen? And the conversation we had before was explaining how we think about those things. And how we think about this thing is that the Chinese are not going to have a much tariff-inclusive higher price. That's what we believe, and that's what we've seen before.
And thus, customers won't be paying $1.10?
Right, they'll be paying $1. And the Chinese will be getting 90 cents. I mean, obviously, yes.
Okay. I just think there seems to be such squishy language around this that's why I keep pressing on it. If you can be confident and assured,
right? That was pretty direct.
Oh, you sent her out to talk to an economist, and they can't feed her into her ear quick enough. She doesn't understand what the hell this guy's talking about, and you see the consternation in her eyes.
Is the company going to only make 90 then?
Excuse me?
You said
the person who buys the thing from China, whoever that might be, is going to have a tariff-inclusive price that's very close to the price before the tariff. That's what economic theory predicts, yes.
People who are driving policy, the media, politicians, they've never bothered to learn anything about climate change, and they don't seem to appreciate at all that the cost and affordability of energy is simply intimate to human well-being. It always has, everywhere and always. So these two ignorances about the importance of energy and about real facts about climate change are driving just a massively destructive movement, not just destructive to the economic well-being of humans, But I speak in schools. It's turning people away from science, and I mean science, this process of questioning and challenging, not the science, this sort of top-down, mandates that justify what people want to do anyway, that has nothing to do with climate change. And how has it gone so far? So we're 20 years, $2 trillion of subsidies. In the year 2000, the world got 86% of its total primary energy from fossil fuels. So last year, in 2020, that 86% plunged all the way down to 84%. So calling this an energy transition, and everyone in my industry does that. The investment banks, the companies, you're supposed to write an ESG report apologizing that you're in our industry and how you're gonna get out someday and your energy transition strategy. Well, the low-hanging fruit is the start. That's the electricity sector in rich countries. If 20 years and that much money drove us from 86 to 84, that's not an energy transition at all.
So that guy is Chris Wright, the new Secretary of Energy, and he's trying to explain to people, just like the guy before him, people who have no idea what the hell they're talking about, who can only talk about headlines, and they can only talk ideology. And when you start getting into it, and you say you've spent $2 trillion on climate change, and you've seen less than a 1.5% reduction, it doesn't work. The country, the world runs on oil. Yeah, if you want to turn down your thermostat or whatever, fine. But at the same token, economies at scale require oil. You want to see something in terms of tariffs like the other guy was talking about? Where was that? Let me bring this in here so I can show you this. Okay, here. Look what happened today. Great news. The European Union to offer lower tariffs on U.S. cars following President Trump's tariff threats. The rate will decrease from 10 to 2.5%. So you can get people locked into trying to do the math, but it's really simple. It just dropped by 4x. 2.5 times 4 is 10. So we're going to be paying a lot less because the tariffs actually worked, or even the threat of tariffs actually worked. Nothing about our economy at this point do people really understand on the left. It's all smoke and mirrors. They can't get into brass tacks. They can't have the right discussion to understand what we need as Americans to pull out of this mess, to stop this spending, to allow revenue to grow, to make you more prosperous, to make the country more prosperous, because they don't want you to prosper. The objective of everything they're doing is to make America not great. We are the bad country. We don't deserve prosperity. You don't deserve prosperity. We need to keep raising your taxes over and over and over. Meanwhile, we're sending, gazillions out to wherever and just keep it going. Let's finish this up. Oh, all right. So let me pause this. This is this is gonna, if everything so far hasn't pissed you off, this is gonna piss you off. These are all the dollars that we've been spending on other countries' borders. $295,000 to Angola, $400,000 for Armenia, Iraq $500,000, Serbia $1 million, Indonesia $1.8 million to keep them, Georgia the country, not Georgia the state, $150,000. Paraguay, $2.1 million. All of this, Kazakhstan, $970,000. You can do the math. Borders are important for every country except ours. Your government, my government, our tax dollars were being spent to go help other people secure their border. Meanwhile, sorry, not America. And the last one was Kenya. Down there, Kenya was like 4.8 million. 12 million that we spent of your money, $12 million, $12 million, to secure other people's borders. Let that sink in. Seriously, breathe and understand that. So SV had sent me something. I'm going to play it. This is from a USAID whistleblower. Let's listen in on this.
So how does this work? Is it really that much money that goes back to the people running the subcontractors?
Well, I have to say, I want to be careful that this is a classic case where we want to avoid throwing the baby out with the bathwater. USAID does save babies. That said, it does. The studies show that up to 7 million children have been prevented from being born with HIV by giving drugs to HIV-positive mothers while they're giving childbirth. And that's a wonderful thing. That said, there is tremendous waste within the aid industrial complex. This is well known. It's been well documented. And it's probably not unique to USAID. It's probably true across the federal government, in which most contractors charge overhead that is beyond what any reasonable business would consider appropriate. And therefore, the American taxpayer does not get the return on investment that we expect.
Yeah, so we want to save babies from getting AIDS in Africa. And that's still going to happen once they look at everything and get this thing streamlined. But you're a Democrat. And you raised this issue at USAID, and you were punished for that, weren't you?
That's exactly right. So I was elevated to be the acting deputy chief of staff of the Global Health Bureau during COVID, and I immediately observed incredible delay and arrogance on the part of career bureaucrats who I fought and frankly cleaned up their mess. And instead of being appreciative that we avoided a embarrassment, I was retaliated against. I had to sue them under the Whistleblower Protection Act, which is detailed in my op-ed. And then they proceeded to botch 10 times more money. I should add, this was under the career bureaucrats. There were political appointees like our recent assistant administrator, Atul Gawande, who did a good job of streamlining bureaucracy. And that's where there are important programs that I'm concerned are going to be thrown out with a bureaucracy that has grown over 6 decades without enough accountability. There have been efforts to reform it, not successful. And so I hope that this can be an act of creative destruction, which is a good thing, instead of just total destruction, which would be the concern of overreach.
Well, okay, and I'm sure it will be, because no one wants to see dead babies in Africa if it just costs a little bit to save them. We want to save everyone we can, but we have to save people here too. Why aren't Democrats saying, yeah, you caught us, $2 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala, maybe not the best use of American tax dollars? Why don't they just say that?
You'll have to ask them. What I would say is under Republican administrations, agencies can pivot to support those priorities, and under Democratic administrations like the last one.
Priorities? I would really doubt that spending millions of dollars for operations in Guatemala for people who can't understand whether they should be sitting or standing to pee is not a priority. I'm pretty sure you'd feel the same way.
You would see that. I should say those are problematic examples. They're a relatively small amount compared to, say, the efforts to prevent babies from dying. But I will also say there were other programs like the Global Health Supply Chain Program that was audited for incredible waste and corruption.
You're saying all these things about these babies, and I want to believe you, but then when you look at the numbers, only 10% gets to the babies. The rest of it just goes to salaries. How do you justify that?
I don't, and that's where reform is needed. At USAID, it's great to start there, and I think across the federal government. There are many government contractors that are taking far more of an overhead than is appropriate, and it is, everybody knows this within foreign aid, and it needs to be reformed, and I'm glad it's being approached.
All right, well, thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
So as you watch that, and you can see Jesse's face, he doesn't believe a word this guy's saying. I don't believe a word this guy's saying. Now it seems like he got booked on Jesse's show because somebody said, get out there and do some damage control. Jesse brings him on, and the stuff he's saying doesn't make any sense. And Jesse's being polite. He should have shredded him. He should have absolutely shredded him. But, you know, he's trying to say, oh, we do some good as well. BS. Address this. I can't. You're going to have to talk to somebody else. So I think Jesse knew at this point the way to expose these people and what they've been doing is just what he did. Show people they don't have anything. There's no way for them to extricate from themselves from this. They can't bring some so-called whistleblower on because the guy's full of crap. You cannot tell me, and you probably can't tell many Americans, that I don't care how much you spend on the poor kids in Afghanistan when there's poor kids in Appalachia, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, name your city. Insert city name here. I care about humanity. I care about kids. I don't want to see kids die. But he just said priority. No, our priority is here. I know that sounds selfish to some people. How could you just... Have you ever gone into the hood? Have you ever seen kids who are basically eating Ritz crackers for dinner? It just gets to me because they try to use your heartstrings, but there's no pictures of the kids here. If this guy was on my show, I would have asked him straight up. Number one question, before we get too much further into your aid area, don't you think it's more important to take care of people here in America? And now just shut up, and let him answer. Because they can't. They can't. We've been handing out UNICEF dollars since the time we were kids, not realizing that money wasn't going to people in our neighborhoods. I'm not a bad person. I have empathy. I'm so sorry for the kids over there. It's always the kids. But with all these programs that you're paying for, maybe one of those programs should be, maybe y'all shouldn't be having kids. You got no food for them. Actually, you should be doing that here, too. Or, like Sam Kinison said, here's a really good program. How about we move y'all to where the food is? Now, that was a joke 20 years ago. And now we're sitting back going, why do we keep sending food and help to a place that 20 years ago we knew nothing was going to grow here? These people were not going to survive. There's no water. There's no economy. Nobody's buying and selling. And all we're doing is just throwing money over there instead of saying, you know what? And this is probably where the Gaza conversation came from. Why are we going to keep giving money to Gaza so these people can keep living in rubble? How about we build skyscrapers and stuff? Make it prosperous. Then we can help the people who don't have any food. But no, you just want to keep throwing the money in food. And then with Jesse had him. Jesse, you had him right there. He goes, well, then why is only 10% of the money that's given actually getting to the kids? I don't know. Yeah, you don't know. You're a lying hack. We all know why. See, that's when I had to do the side eye. Like, wait a minute, you're telling me only 10% of the money gets to the kids, these kids, and 90% of the money that you're taking from Americans is going where? I don't know. Dismissed. You're dismissed. I got nothing for you. You, at that point, you just need to leave. That's what I would have done. He'd have left here with his tail between his legs, because I don't have bosses at Fox that tell me don't beat up on this guy too bad. You step here. You want to have a conversation? Let's have a conversation. By the way, do you think men or women stand and squat to pee? I mean, just saying. Because, like Glenn said, if you can't answer the most elementary of questions, then everything else comes out to your mouth. I don't want to hear. Got nothing for you. We're empty. Look, opera on the run. Where was that? That was a good question. Look at it this way. How many other industrialized countries are throwing money around all over the world? Nope, just us. I'm sure there's some, but not in the numbers, not in the same numbers that we are. Good point, Paul. Oprah Winfrey should send them her money. She was probably talking about Maui. Let's see here. Jesse was probably afraid of Fox. You could tell by his look. He was giving you a look like, this guy's full of crap. You guys sent him over here, didn't you? He's no whistleblower. That wasn't no whistleblower. Neighbors helping neighbors from now on, never donating to Red Cross ever again. I think that's what we learned with, we learned it down here a long time ago with hurricanes. You know, I would much rather go buy water and take it to people who didn't have it, or take them food than give it to some bureaucracy. Except, Samaritan's Purse. Unfortunately, Cynthia, you are right. We are the suckers. You know why? Because you're good people. You have kind hearts, you're good people, and they use that against you. Before we close up, let me go ahead and show you this. Trump has decided that removing newcomers that are on Social Security, they will no longer be able to get Social Security. I don't even know why they were allowed to get Social Security. That's a whole nother thing. But in my estimation, there's two really big news stories. Let me just show you this one real quick. Chris Murphy from Connecticut, scumbag that he is. I've talked about him a couple times, but Mike Benz picked up something. Chris Murphy has been leading the charge to defend USAID. However, here he is listed as the main Hill outreach point of contact for USAID-funded NED program to, quote, destabilize Bangladesh's politics by funding Transformer dance festivals and Bangladeshi rap groups. And you can go to Mike Benz's page. He's just been finding all these people. So now we have a Democrat who's actually been trying to defend USAID, and he's getting paid. He's got one of those NGOs. Should hang. All right, two big things happened. This one, if this were to come to fruition, which it should, given what this Mockingbird media is doing, the FCC is considering revoking the broadcast license of CBS News. Can you even fathom a major news organization like that losing their FCC license? That if that were to happen, it would start the destruction of the media. I mean, they've done a good job on their own, but that would basically be the first topple. They've had it for free. They've done what they want. It's worth billions, that license, and they never had to pay for it. And now Brandon Carr is actually making statements that he may pull the license. And it comes from this whole thing with Kamala Harris. Breaking, the FCC is now considering revoking CBS broadcast license after the deceptively edited Kamala Harris's 60 Minutes interview, per FCC Chairman Brendan Carr. They're also investigating NBC for their last-second stunt of putting Kamala on SNL. Trump is leaving no stone unturned in going after these people. Absolutely. Love what he's doing. In addition to that, as many of you know that George Soros bought those 200 radio stations, and the Biden administration pushed it to close fast before the election. Well, now the FCC is investigating whether or not one of the Soros-backed radio stations, after it revealed the live exact locations of undercover ICE officers conducting deportation operations in the area, as well as they disclosed the make, model, and color of the vehicles they were in. So a radio station in San Francisco, as part of this George Soros package that he owns, began interfering with ICE interdictions and broadcasting almost like the Warriors. Warriors, come on, play. Remember that movie? The guys had to get home, and the guy on the radio was telling you they're about to reach the 5th station, and everybody would run there. Well, this guy just did it. Whoever's running that station, the disc jockey on the air, started broadcasting ICE locations. But this Sunday, what you need to pay attention to, there's rumors out there rumors. Rumors, can't confirm. Elon has not said it is true yet. But there's rumors out there that Elon is going to be running Super Bowl commercials talking about Doge. I cannot confirm, but that would be flipping awesome. Awesome. But I don't think it's true. Here's why I don't think it's true, and why I even bring it up. Because that would have been disclosed already. I don't think they could have hidden that. Let me just see if he has reported anything, but I don't see anything where he has confirmed that. But that would be absolutely jaw-dropping when you watch the Super Bowl. So that's where I am for tonight. That's tonight's show. What I want to do is, the hoodie site was working for me. I heard some people had problems. I had my guys look at it again, make sure everything was copacetic, and they didn't have a problem. So I'm going to give away 3 hoodies. Let me go ahead and put this in place. Okay, which window am I using? I'm going to use this window. Alright, so let's give away 3 hoodies. It's getting late. I want you guys to get to bed. Where are we looking at for the drum roll? Drum roll. Hold on. Mandy Clark. Mandy Clark, you have won a free hoodie. Let's get the next one. Ronald Kirk. Ronald Kirk, you have won a free hoodie. And one more. Let's go ahead and get this one. Leslie Kozub. Leslie Kozub, you have won a free hoodie. Ashley will get in touch with you. Next week, we're going to be changing it because I'm going to go to another database because I'm coordinating the database with our newsletter that's going to start next week. So it won't pop up the name that kind of way. I'll have to look and see how I can integrate it. But we'll move there from there. Hold on. SB's got a bulletin for me. I love how he sends me these bulletins. What do you got, SB? Already. Okay. Let me just bring this up. Already, not sure if they're working 24/7, but it appears they are. Let me show you this note that SV just sent here. I probably can just read it to you because I can't pull it up right now. Can't pull it up. Anyway, the note that SB just sent me is Doge has uncovered, quote, 100 billion in Medicare and Medicaid problems, waste, whatever you want to call it already. 100 billion first day out the box. It's only going to get worse, people. It's only, I told you, be ready. It's only here. Let's see, I was able to get it. All right, so, yeah, 100 billion after gaining access to the system. So, strap in for the weekend because they're going to find more and more stuff, and you're going to see things that you never thought your government would be doing. That's going to be what we're saying. All right, next thing here. If you'd like to join us over on X, you can go here to fanfareshop.org/group and join close to 15,000 people in our group there. So please go ahead and go over there. Let's see, and I think that's just about it. Let me just do the super chats if there's any in here, and then we can all go to bed or whatever it is that you do on a Friday night. Laura Gray was supposed to say analogy, not apology. Oh, that must be something down below. Carl Hassenauer, Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. Nice passage. Haven't heard that one before. Ed Sloan, Pam Bondi brought back the federal death penalty. Yes, she did. Laura Gray, Truman. Oh, okay, this was the one. Truman Show, perfect analogy. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen that movie or haven't seen it in a while, just look up that one scene. You don't have to go two hours and just look at that one scene. Danny Robinson, going back to the summer of last year, did you have any idea the corruption was going to be this bad? Nope. I don't know how any of us could have imagined that this is the kind of stuff we'd be talking about. And it's funny because this story isn't going away either. It's not like, hey, we caught this guy. Nope, it just keeps coming. And every time you hit refresh, you're like, more. And it's becoming a deluge. And we're all talking about it. So that's what's going on. We are all talking about it. Patricia Kuhn, hiya Barry. Good info from Trish Warwick, Queensland, Australia. I'll have to look that up. Thank you, Eric West. Thank you very much. Lowerly 2. I remember when Trump said at one of his rallies that Biden was going to sell U.S. steel to Japan. Then Trump not only keeps it, but has Japan invest $1 trillion. It's a deal. Nippon, it was going to buy it, and man, amazing how many things. How can a Democrat have any problem with what's going on? I know you hate Trump. I know you hate Elon Musk, but damn, look at what's happening. Yeah, like Jonathan Turley said, they've got the barf bag trying to hyperventilate, and they can't figure out anything. Sandra JJ, we're gonna have Thompson. We're gonna need re-education in America. Yeah, big time. Born on a 4th, I knew the government was crooked, but not this bad. After struggling with business and income taxes for 45 years, I'm mad. I want a rebate. No one knew. Bullcrap. Yeah. See, that's where I am. There's no way something of this size and magnitude could have been ignored all this time. Yeah, thank God. Lynn Geldmar, thank God she didn't win. We dodged. Massive bullet. Massive. You useful idiot. Breaking Trump pulls Biden security clearance. Yes, I did post that earlier. That's funny. That is funny. I didn't know if it was real or if he was joking, but it's real. Sunflower Heart, thank you. Pray for the children all over the world. Continually praying for kids. Jeremiah Kerr, anyone who believes Pete Hegseth is doing a good job, give very good live stream. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think Pete's going to really do a good job in Department of Defense. Lisa Bell, thank you very much. Lupe Murillo, Republicans said this week they just passed money bills without reading, too lazy to bother, like he just was. Something's got to give at this point. This is crazy. RBI Sports just looked up the word mendacity using Merriam-Webster. A noted synonym is U.S. aid. As Barry noted, the word waste is not a synonym for the word mendacity. Now, this is criminal. Papa John, thank you. They should make it where Congress must take live questions from the citizens of their state through an internet submission for each time. That should happen anyway. How did AOC get? How did those people from the squad ever get elected? That's something to ask. Deanne Hobbs, I heard Musk bought Super Bowl commercials. Yeah, that's what I heard. I haven't been able to confirm it. Lupe Murillo, Mike Benz said some Republicans are corrupt also, and Democrats are going to force them in their fight towards Trump. Won't be able to blackmail them because we're going to see it. How many times did they steal from Social Security? 2L8 EB says. Not really sure. Reyes, how are you? Funded, aided the enemy. I won a war with lost battle buddies. I am beyond angry. Seeing red, yet my heart hurts and cry out to the Lord for them. Yeah, I pray for all of you. I mean, you're seeing stuff that is uncomfortable. The full faith of everything that you put in this government, you're finding out now has been a fraud. That's hard to take. Jeff 26, this is a crime against humanity of legal American citizens. That's why you have to scream it, tell everybody. Linda H., I did accounting for 40 years. Someone had to enter the vendor and the payment info into the system. Who is doing that? Who gave them this info? You're exactly right. But I think that was Wally the Nigerian and his buddy. They were just told to pay everything. Beverly Litton, how does Trump find and recover all that money? He won't. But I doubt he can recover it because it's happened too long. I mean, if we're talking decades, that money's been spent. Absolutely. But he can come to them for something, that's for sure. Greatest ever. I was asking for government help because of hard times for my family just to get denied all the time. I needed help for like 3 months, and the people over here, yeah, I mean, a lot of people just needed a hand up. Hey, give me a bridge. Give me a bridge. I got laid off. Nope, we got to send it to Kazakhstan. Penny M. Quarter. Now we know why the radical left kept saying we can't let Trump back in the White House. Yep. And you're also seeing, and this, thank you from Captain Danny. Danny going to be up in West Palm Beach tomorrow. That's why I think there was so much divisiveness, is if they kept people at each other, calling them Hitler and racist and everything else, then people wouldn't see what was really going on. And it worked. It absolutely worked. Especially with the media's help. Sandy, thank you, Barry, Ashley, Rob, Mods. I received my Bible. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. Thanks for telling us. Love that when people get those Bibles. Beverly Litton, what congressman voted for that? Good question. Henry Schrader, need to start tracing the money and seizing properties and assets for the United States. Put those involved in prison. It's a long list. Long list. Jeremiah Carr, hang on to this. The deep state's plan is to cripple the entire world using the United States as a template and simply modifying it per country to establish the NWO. I can't doubt you. I cannot doubt you. Claire Butterfield, shame, shame, shame. Yeah. Lots of shame. Lots of shame. It just doesn't stop. Beverly Litton says, I never read Project 2025. What do people object about it? I never read it either. It's out there. You can read it. But even then, it was taking basically the country back to a more conservative value system. But I haven't read everything about it. So, Christopher Workman, sharing this on every platform. Love the billions smiling that the Matrix is in full self-destruction. Yup. Morgan Edwards, President Trump revoked Biden's clearance. Yes, I did see that. We talked about that earlier. Sandra J.G. Thompson. Do you think all of America is ready for this? Nope. Nope. No, America is not ready for this. Especially, the media's not talking about it. The Democrats are pretending that, the process is the problem. Nobody wants to address, hey man, there's something wrong here. And again, the cognitive dissonance of what people would experience could be life-altering to the point where they can't take it. They can't possibly take it. Unless, of course, there's that many communists who don't care. That's the other side of the coin, is maybe there's enough communists in the Democrat Party who don't care. This was supposed to be the way it was. We were supposed to take your money and do whatever we wanted to. Yolinda Bacani, thank you very much. See, that's the scary part. Are there enough people now in government and around the country who wanted this? Barbara Farley, Barry, it's all just so damn awful. Yeah, just think. I want you to understand it. There are probably a good amount of people on the Democrat side who are 100% okay with this. That's the scary part. That they don't want to work. They want to eat the bugs and live in a pod. They don't care. We've lost not entire, but a good portion of the generation. Sandra J.G. Thompson, what is really scary is what will be put into the void. They must be judicious with who and what they put in place. Schools have to restructure. They will fight that teachers union. Oh my goodness. Lenny Jones, take no prisoners. Nope, no prisoners. No prisoners at this. And I was telling people earlier, getting ready to win, understanding how to win, what you need to do to be a strong winner, and don't feel bad about kicking these people's butt. You see what they had planned. I mean, you're seeing it on a daily basis. They didn't care. There was no care for you. So don't feel bad about stopping them, metaphorically speaking. Posted on Facebook years ago, remember even cattle have 3 genders, bull, cow. Bull, cow, and hamburger. That's funny. Christopher McIntyre, thank you. Barry, check out the news network. I will definitely check out that cartel stuff. Roger Key, thank you. Amanda's Jeep addiction. I've been trying to tell everybody in my family that we've been living in the Truman Show. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. And when I saw that today, I forget who posted it. Let me see if I can find it, because I could never ever play it in the show, but I might be able to play it on here. Well, I know I can if I can find that part. Let's see here. Let's see. Yep, here it is right here. Okay, hold on. Hold on, trying to get it. So this is the part. Hold on, let me pause it. This is the part where he's sailing. If you guys haven't seen the movie, this premise may be missed on you, but this is the part in the movie where he's sailing the boat, and it's just perfect day, and he's just out there. The wind's in his hair. It's beautiful. Just sailing along, and then the boat right there. Boom. And he realizes at that point, what the hell is this? What happened? Your life as you know it just came crushing down. I love what somebody says here, a person posted. We're at this stage of the movie. We've been living our whole life in carefully constructed USAID Truman Show, where none of the institutions are who you think they are, from the media to the public health to universities to NGO to terrorist organizations. That's where we are. And, we're all waking up. It's like we were in the Matrix, like we lived in this pod, and all of a sudden we ran into the wall. And it's nothing is real. You imagine that. Imagine that feeling. He lived his whole life in this movie, and it was a show. And then one day you realize everything that you see is fake. Everything. Flippin' scary. Very scary. Let's see here. Go to the next page. SB just texted me again. Hold on. Sharon, Dems in Hollywood shuffle. Don, you took away our money. It's our biggest money. We're going to kick your butt as soon as you get your foot off our face. BLMS Doom Crew. What's up, brother? Barry and the group, I posted the song in a group called America the Beautiful by Zakk Wylde. I think you'll like it. Love Zakk Wylde. Zakk Wylde is formerly Ozzy Osbourne's guitar player. Jonathan Adams, Barry, here's to starting up FFBNN, keeping bringing the truth. Thank you. FFBNN. Southern Ninja, Barry, you are the absolute best source for news out there. Thank you very much. Let me see what SV just sent me. It's late. I'm gonna get through this stuff quickly. Let me just see what he wrote. Yeah. Oh, this is the big one. As I mentioned to you early, they didn't waste any time, SV. Now this is going to be the gnashing of teeth. This is the gnashing of teeth, the wailing. Let it all begin right now. Let me just show you this. Breaking. Despite Democrats screaming and yelling on the Senate floor for 30 hours straight. That's when I did the overnight video. Rusbout has just been sworn in as Trump's Director of Management and Budget at OMB. The Democrats are just racking up the losses left and right now. And interesting, Clarence Thomas, whatever time this was, 11:23, he just got sworn in. Things, they are changing. Yes. They are changing. Let me see here. Mealy, they are going to try and impeach Trump. Yeah, they already filed it. It's going nowhere. They don't have not a chance, a prayer in hell of that happening. Expat life, damn right, Barry. Don't let up. I'm in. Yeah, we can't let up at this point. Got to keep the boot on the neck. Anything I can do with you or for you, please, just ask others. Ask them. Maybe somebody needs help just learning how to get out there and post things. Rhinoceros, we have all been slaves since the creature from Jekyll Island was created in 1913. If I was the Fed Reserve Chairman, I'd be shizzing bricks right about now. A lot of people are. A lot of people have to be. Eric McCarthy, Barry, you're my rush. Thanks for the sanity. Thank you very much. Wow, thank you. That means a lot. When to even be in the same breath as that name. Please have Ashley invite Catherine Austin. Long history of researching missing money. Worked in a H.W. Bush administration. Okay. I mean, I don't know who she is, but if Ashley can get a hold of her, that would be fine. I would love to talk to somebody like that. Let's see. It's funny when we talk about money, I put in the dollar sign because there's always so many different comments about money. Thank you from World Peace, 9,000 watching, but only 1,700 likes. Please get this out, please. Thank you very much. That's the only thing, let's just get the word out. What's this one? Dalgal for sure. Big balls Dalgal here in Texas where everything is big. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe that the media just ran with that like that. That's how sad they are. World Peace, hit the like button. Thank you very much. Big Cat, how you doing, brother? Have a good weekend. Barry and everyone. You too as well. And let me just go back in case I missed anybody. America Ramirez, Sean Ryan show. Watch this guy interview. Lindy, he's talking about Lindy is that Democrat fundraiser. And I'd love to get her on the show. Ashley, Lindy Lee, I believe her name is. Hey, Neil, how you doing? Hi, Barry. Hope you got earlier super chat. No, I missed it. But it's there. Let me just say thank you anyway. Donald Donovan, President Trump had to lose in 2020 in order for all this theft and corruption to come out and be corrected. The good Lord had his hand. I believe that fully. Dave the Patriot, Barry, all this crime and 0 arrests, not even 1. Please explain this. Easy. That's a really easy explanation. Donald Trump's been in office 17 days. Pam Bondi was approved, 3 days she's been approved? And Kash Patel, FBI director, still isn't approved. So that's the answer. William Santos, thank you very much. William Santos again, thanks Barry. I love your show. Thank you for watching. And now we are complete. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. Hope you guys have a great evening. I can't believe. Well, I'm going to stop saying it. I can believe you guys are. You want more information because there's so much out there, and I understand there's a lot of people who don't bring the depth because there's just it's so much. And we're learning so much, and we're seeing so much, and there's so many lies, and the politicians, just now there are a few who are trying to get to the bottom of this, and tomorrow it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. See you guys tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Have a great rest of your evening and a good Saturday until I see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Thank you.